Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome Thursday, May the 18th, 2023. Hope you're all doing well. Chris Phillips here, your host of the Daily Crow of the Spurs Up Show here on this game day, the final regular season weekend for the Yardcocks. Tons going on this weekend and, of course, today here on TDC. I see Chase Floyd, Bruin Nation, Will Hall, Brendan M., Ethan, Travie. What's going on? Also, those who are in the Big Cock Club Discord, head over to the TDC Questions channel, the TDC Questions channel, to be sure your questions are answered there. But, guys, we got a packed show today, a lot to get into here on this Thursday. Of course, in the third hour, we will take your questions, comments, calls, 843-790-3377. In the meantime, please blow up the voicemail line. You can text that number as well, or leave your questions in the YouTube chat, and we'll get to all of those in our Power Hour, a.k.a. the third hour, which will run 2 to 3 o'clock. Also in our second hour, we've got Mark Ryan of the Fan Upstate. He will join the show for another riveting conversation. Looking forward to everything that Mark Ryan has to say. I see Stephanie Lee, Panic Ritter, Braddock. What's going on? Thank you all so much for tuning in here on this Thursday. M. Colt Outdoor as well. I'm already seeing some fire the running back coach comments from Bruin Nation and Panic Ritter. Love that. Bruin Nation, how does it feel to agree with Panic Ritter on something? How about that? We have more in common than you realize. John Edwards says, keep the faith. Thank you so much again for tuning in, John Edward. Really exciting things, of course, happening on this side of things, guys. I will go ahead and tell you, you will begin to see a new ad on the Daily Crow beginning tomorrow. And this is something I'm really, really excited about. Meant to get this done by this morning, but got really, really busy last night. My good friend Jim over at Carolina Fish Market, we picked up a new business partner over the last 24 hours or so. I want to say thank you to Jim for actually sending me a full care package of all kinds of different fish, sea bass, halibut, flounder, tuna, all that good stuff. So again, really, really excited for that. The business continues to grow. Also got invited and agreed to, we are speaking at an entrepreneurial conference. And I think it's November the 2nd, he said, but it'll be about 500, 600 people, something like that. Really, really excited for that, to have the opportunity, guys. I'll give you all the details of where, when, all the details come out, but really, really excited in regards to share the TSUS journey and some exciting things, again, happening behind the scenes. Again, guys, thank you all so much for the continued love and support across the board, whether it be, I actually saw Shane Beamer on his welcome home tour last night. Our good friend James Kendall, who's in the Big Cock Club, went to that event last night in Somerville. And his son took a picture with Shane Beamer rocking the Beamer Rattler merchandise, which was actually featured on the front page of, I think, the State newspaper. I think that was the article. So just really cool stuff, man. And really cool to feel the love. And again, I cannot say thank you enough for the love and support that we feel from you guys. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive into things, because like I mentioned, the final regular season weekend of the 2023 baseball season is upon us, as the 18th ranked Tennessee Volunteers come to town for a best-of-3 set at Founders Park. First pitch set for tonight at 7, tomorrow at 7, and Saturday at 2. Of course, weather permitting. We've all seen the weather at this point. It looks like it may rain tonight in Columbia, South Carolina, so we shall see how the weather affects the baseball this weekend, and I feel like it would be poetic almost if the weather were to affect it, because so many games, it feels, have been affected by weather for South Carolina this season. The TV schedule, SEC Network Plus for both the games tonight and tomorrow, SEC Network, the big channel, on Saturday. Of course, the head coach of the Volunteers is Tony Vitello, and he has led Tennessee, and Tennessee's had a really interesting season, right? Because they were looked at in the preseason one of the top teams in college baseball, right? We all know about the season they had a year ago, how good they were, really took college baseball by storm. But it's been an up and down season, 36-17, 14-13 in SEC play, guys. The big number, of course, that jumps out, which we have posted, 2-11 on the road this season are the Tennessee Volunteers, guys. Tennessee has not won a road series in conference play this season. So the Volunteers, they've been a different team away from Lindsey Nelson Stadium. We will see if that continues this weekend. When you look at Tennessee, they're pitching, they're hitting. We'll start on the bump. And guys, here's the thing. Although Tennessee has not had a great year, the numbers across the board are that of a team that is very, very good. A 3.75 team ERA, a 5.07 SEC ERA, so certainly not numbers to scoff at, if you will. And as we look at the Tennessee starting rotation, a little bit different than weekends past. You look at their starting rotation. Junior right-hander Andrew Lindsey will get the ball tonight for the Volunteers, 1-2 with a 2.98 ERA, so really impressive numbers for Lindsey. Tomorrow's game, junior right-hander Chase Dolander will get the baseball, 6-5 with a 4.35 ERA, and then Tennessee will go TBA in Game 3 on Saturday. You look at their hitting side of things, and this is a Tony Vitello club, so you know they can swing the stick at a very high level. Tennessee hitting 296 as a team, 272 in SEC play, near the tops of the SEC. And you look at the players to watch for Tony Vitello's club. It starts with Jared Dickey hitting 352 on the season, 12 home runs, and 46 RBI. You then look at Blake Burke hitting 303, 15 homers, and 40 ribbies. And then Christian Moore rounds it out, hitting 309, 13 home runs, 40 RBI. He's also 15 for 16 in stolen bases. Guys, like I mentioned, you look at the series graphic that we dropped this morning, and I think people were actually really surprised to see just how good Tennessee has been statistically. There's a lot of orange on that series graphic, guys. They actually are better than the Gamecocks in every pitching category. Every pitching category that we list, Tennessee has the advantage. Now, it's slight, but still, you would think to yourself, hearing what's come out of Knoxville this season and what the college baseball world has said about them, that Tennessee's no good, they're terrible, and I know they've been awful on the road, but this is still a very, very talented Tennessee ball club, a very, very talented Volunteer squad, and you know that Tony Vitello's team will be ready to play because they've got a lot on the line as well. More on that in just a second. When you look at South Carolina's starting rotation, they'll go with Eli Jones tonight, TBA on both Friday and Saturday. So a little bit of gamesmanship here from Mark Kingston, Justin Parker. They are leaving tomorrow and Saturday as a mystery. We went on Inside the Gamecocks this morning, of course, as we do each and every single Thursday. And after talking with JB, he mentioned to us and mentioned to me that, you know, per his people inside the program, most likely it will be Jack Mahoney and Matthew Becker yet again. But in regards to gamesmanship and in regards to weather could change things, and they also just want to have all hands on deck. If they got to throw everybody in the first two games to get those 2 wins to win this series, they will do that. So, again, keeping the door open. And, again, a little bit of gamesmanship from Mark Kingston. Want to go in the weekend with some mystery. But Eli Jones, we do know for certain, will get the baseball tonight. It's very well-deserved for Eli Jones after a fantastic performance last weekend in Fayetteville. Guys, as we move into what to watch for our top storylines, and I got to start with the numbers and just simply put, guys, what gives with these 2 ball clubs, right? South Carolina, a team that has lost 9 of their last 12, 8 of their last 9. So you would think South Carolina, the mental midget is running. You're playing mind games. You're doubting yourself. And I think, guys, honestly, the greatest challenge for this ball club at this point is the mental side. It's not the physical side, because we know what this group is capable of. We've seen it. We've seen it time and time again. We saw it many times through the first 40 games when this team was 34-6. So there's no doubting of, well, I just don't know if we have the players. Can they do it? That's not even a conversation. This group of guys can do it. But you've gone cold. Again, lost 8 of 9. Lost 9 of 12. And so you think to yourself, all right, Tennessee, they're playing better baseball. Oh, my goodness, what's Carolina going to do? Bro, Tennessee's got problems of their own. They're 2-11 on the road. They are winless in road series this season. So you think about how Tennessee's feeling. Their backs are against the wall. They're sitting at 14 SEC wins. I mean, a sweep would just kill the Volunteers, right? Like, they need to win 2 of 3. They're fighting to get in that hosting conversation. I saw Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball talking about it last night, that if Tennessee's able to take 2 of 3, they could put themselves in a position to host in the postseason. So a lot on the line for them as well, but they're winless on the road. So you wonder, where is Tennessee mentally? Like, what are they thinking? Like, what do we have to do? Do we have to change something? Like, is our best good enough to win on the road? And the mental midget, it starts to turn, right? It starts to turn in your head. So it's a pair of ball clubs that something's got to give. Somebody's got to win this series, right? Who is it going to be? Who's going to get off the schneid? Who's going to buck these negative trends that we're seeing? Going to be really interesting. It's two talented ball clubs full of great players. The mental game, I think, is what is so intriguing, the most intriguing thing, excuse me, to follow this week. And also, guys, what I'm looking forward to, as I mentioned earlier, mystery in the weekend rotation for South Carolina. How much mystery is there really? I don't tend to think there's a ton. I think if all it goes according to plan, right? If Eli Jones gives you another quality start, he goes, let's just say 7 innings, right? Goes 7 innings. James Hicks or Cade Austin or whoever comes in to relieve. I don't know that Chris Veach will go this weekend, but whoever, right? Somebody comes in, relieves, you win the ball game. I think it's safe to say Jack Mahoney will pitch in game 2. That goes well. I think it's safe to say Matthew Becker will pitch in game 3. But with the mystery, could it be somebody else? Could James Hicks get the baseball? I mean, how are they going to attack this thing? You leave it open. You leave the door open just in case. And I mean, hey, if you got to throw Jack Mahoney and Matthew Becker on Friday in game 2, what does it mean for game 3? Like, what do you do with that? So anytime you've got 2 TBAs, that's going to be a storyline, certainly in South Carolina, sort of fighting it with some injuries and what have you. But with the mystery in the weekend rotation, does it actually benefit the Gamecocks? Sticking on the bump, guys. Another big storyline, Chris Veach, his injury status. Can he go this weekend? You know, Mark Kingston talking about he was dealing with a hip after the Tuesday game. And, that's a big piece for you, right? I know he was rough, obviously, on Tuesday, did not pitch well, but he's been one of your big dogs. He's been one of your big guys, been your closer all season long. You're in a tight ball game, 3-2. Who comes in now? Who is that guy you hand the game over to, right? Who is that guy, right? Because especially when you think about, we're talking about the mental side. I mean, this is a team that's fighting it. They're fighting it mentally. And you're up 3-2, 4-3, 7-6. I don't care what the score is. You're in a close ball game. It's the top of the 9th inning. You're trying to secure it. The last thing from just the mental side this team could afford is to blow a game late. So can Chris Veach go? If he cannot go, who pitches? And also just, again, what is the pitching strategy against Tennessee? Who's the first guy to the bullpen? Is it James Hicks? Are there going to be some guys that you haven't asked a lot of this season that need to pitch for you, like a Brett Thomas, like an Austin Williamson, like a Jackson Phipps? Like, are there guys out there? Who do you go to? We heard all preseason about this team's pitching depth, elite pitching depth, how good it is. You're probably going to have to start to flex that because Chris Veach, doubtful. Eli Jersenbeck is out for the year, as we know now. Will Sanders is obviously off the schneid, is on the on the injured list. Noah Hall is out, so you're having to get a little bit creative when it comes to your pitching staff, your bullpen, et cetera. So what is the strategy against Tennessee? Another big storyline, guys, that I'm looking forward to on the offensive side. I talked about him going in the Tuesday night game. He was my key player, Ethan Petrie. Can he get going? That if you're looking for encouraging signs, I know it's tough because that Charlotte game was so brutal and so abysmal. If you're looking for encouraging signs out of that game Tuesday, you score 9 runs, the power resurgence, hit a couple bombs, and Ethan Petrie, pair of doubles on Tuesday night. Is he all of a sudden getting his confidence back? Is he heating back up? It's been a long time, it feels like. What was it, the Winthrop game, I think? The last time Ethan Petrie hit a home run? It's been quite a while. So if you can get him going, we've talked about, guys, the importance of him and how big he was early in the season. It felt like every single time that you needed a big knock, Ethan Petrie was there to provide that. So going to be big for him. Obviously, a huge weekend. You'd like to see him get heated up as we go into throughout this weekend and, of course, the postseason as well. Guys, something else I'm looking forward to. There's so much on the line this weekend, right? It goes without saying. And you talk about this team backs against the wall, the turmoil and the adversity. I mean, you got fans fighting fans at the game Tuesday night at Founders Park. You got Cole Messina going back at fans because they're talking crap. I mean, it's just madness, pure madness, right? Backs against the wall. What's on the line for, hosting a regional? Guys, this team, if things go awry, I mean, you've put yourself in a position where you may not even be hosting And there's a lot on the line. Backs are against the wall for both sides. Because like I mentioned, hosting hopes are on the line for both teams. For both teams. I mean, Tennessee's only one game behind you guys in SEC play. They're only one game behind you. So you got hosting hopes on the line. You need something to feel good about going into the SEC tournament. Talking about SEC tournament seeding. There's still a chance you can get the top 4. In the SEC tournament seeding, which you get the top 4, you get a bye. That's a very big deal for a team that has not played well in Hoover. You get an extra day's rest as well. There's a lot on the line this weekend. There's a lot on the line for this weekend with this ball club for both sides. For both sides. And the big question is this. And we've asked it many times, but how does this team respond? This team has been so good at fighting adversity all year. But they've probably faced no greater challenge on the mental side of things than they do right now. Your entire fan base who once had your back, who once touted you as the best team in college baseball, is ready to throw you away. They're done with you. They're done with you. They don't even want to watch you play anymore. How do you respond to it? And not that the outside noise matters, but those guys just see it all. I mean, feeling it literally. Their parents talk to them. Their parents are dealing with it in the stands. Like, I mean, shit has officially hit the fan. And as I mentioned yesterday, it can go one of two directions. Either this team can band together, the veterans in that clubhouse can use their experience, their knowledge, their wisdom to positively benefit this team, and this team can rally together and circle the wagons and take 2 of 3 or sweep this weekend and get back to feeling good about themselves again heading into the postseason. Or this team can continue to go down in flames. One of two things is going to happen. It's their greatest mental challenge yet. I keep saying the mental side, guys, because there's no question about the physical side. Like, you can't sit here and say, well, I'm not sure if he can hit or not. I'm not sure if he can pitch or not. No, we know. This team is 34-6 for a reason. So now it's the mental side. Now it's the mental grind. And you got a bunch of 18 to 22-year-old kids that are just trying to figure it out, man. Just trying to figure it out. Can this team have a goldfish memory? Can this team have a short memory? Band together. Say, you know what? What's happened has happened, and it doesn't matter anymore. We are starting our postseason run now. Because I think if it's going to start, it's got to start this weekend. It's got to start this weekend on the home field. There's so much on the line. The worst case, the worst thing that could happen is you have to go on the road for the postseason after all the good you've done this year. Got to get off the schneid at home in front of the home crowd. Hey, the tension will be there. People will be on edge. Gamecock fans will be ready to bitch and moan at the first thing that goes wrong. And you know that, and that's okay. Use it as fuel to the fire. This fan base is passionate. They care. That's a good thing. The Rowdy Roosters will be out and about, and we'll see how this team responds. Ugly performance Tuesday night against Charlotte. Ugly performance. Can this team flush it, forget it, move on, move into this weekend with confidence? And remember, don't just remember the negatives. We have that tendency as human beings to only focus on the negatives. Remember the positives. Remember who you are. Remember what type of ball club you are playing your best baseball. You know, I thought Talmadge Lecroy said it really well in his media availability yesterday that we believe that we can be the best baseball team in the country. That's good. You need that. You need to believe that because you've done it before. This isn't just something where, like, you've been kind of skating by all year and you're like, well, we believe we're actually number one. This team has actually been there. This team's been on that pedestal. Can you recapture that? Or just 70% of that and play your best baseball, start to play your best baseball again this weekend in front of the home crowd. Guys, let's move to my key player of the weekend. And as I just mentioned, leaning on your veterans, your veteran leadership in the clubhouse, guys who have been through the fire, they've been through the good, they've been through the bad. That type of experience helps a ball club like this. It helps. For that reason, my key player of the weekend is Gamecock shortstop Braylon Wimmer. Now, how much does he play in the field? I have no idea. Is he 110%? Is he fighting through it at 90%? I'm not exactly sure. But Braylon Wimmer is a guy. As I mentioned to you guys, when he went out, that was a big deal. That was a big, big deal. This is a dude who's been through it all at South Carolina. He's seen the good. He's seen the bad. He's seen the in-between. He's seen the ugly. I mean, he's seen it all. He's seen it all. And having a guy like that you can lean on. I talk about all the time Cole Messina being the heart and soul of this team. And he is, but he's still just a sophomore, right? He hadn't been through all the battles and all the grinds and everything that a guy like Braylon Wimmer has. So it's a guy like Wimmer you need to step up. I mean, also, he's a damn good baseball player, and having him back in the lineup, I think, is a huge boost for this club, what he means to this team, what he means to this lineup. But leaning on a guy like Braylon Wimmer, who has his experience, who can be a leader on and off the field, for that reason, Braylon Wimmer is my key player of the weekend. I think he's a massive piece of this team. I think he shows that this weekend, which brings me into, guys, my prediction. And it's already out there, right? That's going to be the only thing about these shows, the way we're airing them now. I'm already going to go ahead and throw my predictions out there in the morning, which, of course, is the last regular season weekend, so it doesn't really matter. Things will change up. But either way, Gamecocks and Volunteers, so much on the line for both sides, right? And I've locked in Carolina 2 of 3, and I want to tell you why. Maybe it's one of those things where I'm just trying to speak it into existence. Maybe it's one of those things where I'm letting my inner yard cock shine, right? Tennessee, first off, is a really, really good ball club. Say what you want about the Volunteers. Have they had the type of season maybe they were expecting? Not necessarily. But they've bounced back in a big, big way. Now, as we just went off the stream, I don't know how much of you just missed. Anyways, to get back to, we're going to pick up where I was. Okay, it looks like a couple of minutes ago. I do apologize. So I'll get back to where I just was. In case you missed it, again, my key player of the weekend, Braylon Wimmer, his veteran leadership, his veteran presence. I think it's going to stand out and shine. You need those type of guys in your clubhouse and on your ball club this weekend. Again, getting into my prediction, you saw it this morning. I've locked in South Carolina, winning 2 out of 3. It's a mental battle this weekend. And it's a tale of two teams who have gone opposite directions over the last couple of weeks. South Carolina starts hot, and they go ice cold. Tennessee starts out ice cold, and they get red hot. Two very comparable clubs. And like I mentioned, guys, earlier, Tennessee is not a team that you want to see in your regional. They're dangerous. They're very dangerous. And again, I don't know if it's the inner Yardcock in me, my Garnet and Black blood. I'm not sure what it is. To be totally honest with you. But I think what it comes down to for me, can this team bounce back? Can this team be resilient? And I think they can. It's all about having a short memory. Can you flush it? Can you move on to the next game? This series is massively important. There's so much on the line. I think this team at home, I just refuse to believe that this is it. I refuse to believe the story has been written on the Yardcocks. It's not a physical issue. It's been a mental issue and fighting it of late. This team's backs are against the wall. Fans are up in arms. I think this team will band together. The leadership on this ball club will shine. I think it's a very competitive 3-game series because I think Tennessee is a very good ball club. But I think South Carolina will find a way to get the job done. Take 2 of 3. It's darkest before the dawn. And I understand that's a cliche, but cliches are cliches because they're accurate. It's darkest before the dawn. I think this team comes out, plays much better baseball this weekend. This team loves to swing it at Founders Park. You saw the hitting on Tuesday, a resurgence. I think you'll have the pitching and the fielding to complement it. And I think for that reason, South Carolina gets off the schneid and they take 2 of 3 over Tennessee. So again, guys, lock me in. I've got the Gamecocks taking 2 of 3 over the Volunteers and finally having something to feel good about as the regular season concludes and we get ready for SEC tournament play. Guys, that being said, let's go ahead and jump into our first break of the day. On the other side, we'll keep the conversation going here on this Thursday, May the 18th. Appreciate you all tuning in. We'll be right back.
Muscle Dougie, ho. Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Thursday, May the 18th, 2023. Thank you all so much for rolling with the punches with maybe some of the technical issues. I'm really glad that I checked the feed because I did not realize that for some reason our feed had gone off of the screen. And I know somebody mentioned in the comments that it is storming like crazy today, especially here in the upstate. So I don't know if that maybe knocked it off or it was the Tony Vitello hackers or what happened. But either way, appreciate you all. I know you guys always roll with the punches, and I appreciate your love and support. An exciting weekend of baseball upcoming. But guys, as we continue the conversation, and by the way, I do want to highlight this. The Rally Puppy is in studio. So good vibes all the way around. Good vibes. Good vibes. I want to make sure. We got to get the Rally Puppy on the screen. Good vibes all the way around for this weekend. Thank you. Good vibes all the way around for the Yardcocks this weekend because the Rally Puppy is in the studio. So Tennessee don't even know what's coming. Either way, though, again, we got a big weekend of baseball upcoming as South Carolina takes on Tennessee. With that being said, though, I want to shift the conversation from baseball to football because I'm sure you saw last night Shane Beamer has officially concluded his welcome home tour, unless he added a date that I was unaware of. Either way, Shane Beamer has been speaking on his welcome home tour. And something that stood out to me is as we get closer to the 2023 season, and obviously we've got a ways to go, still over 100 days until kickoff, but it'll be here before you know it. But as Shane Beamer has spoken, especially with the events that have happened lately in the transfer portal at the running back position, Beamer has spoken very candidly on the pieces they need to help this football team this season, the young pieces specifically. And based off his comments, and when you look at the makeup of this football team, it appears that a lot of the success of the 2023 Gamecocks will depend on the success of their true freshmen, of their young guys who will step in and who will make immediate impact. So I thought on today's show, guys, we talk top Gamecocks freshmen who are most likely to make a big impact this upcoming season. Now, again, this is my best guess, but these are the guys that I think realistically out of the 2023 signing class, these are just true freshmen. These are not transfer portal players. I'm talking true freshmen coming from the high school ranks. One is a community college player, I will say. So I'm sure you already know who one of them is. Either way, though, the top Gamecocks freshmen who are most likely to make a big impact because, heck, Shane Beamer spoke candidly about it last night, that a guy like Dontavius Braswell at the running back position, who's a true freshman, said, we're going to need him to play. We got to get him ready to play because we're going to need him to play. And that is the case at a number of positions. So, guys, let's highlight some of the top Gamecocks freshmen who are most likely to not just play, but make a big impact on the upcoming 2023 season. And I'm going to start with the very obvious answer here, okay? I'm going to start with the very obvious answer, and that is Nicholas Harbor. Nicholas Harbor, a guy not on campus yet, did not go through spring ball with the rest of this group. He will get here late summer and will be on campus, of course, for fall camp. Does that hold him back somewhat? Does that put him behind some of his other classmates, some of his other enrollees, if you will? Maybe so. But you cannot deny the pure talent, the athleticism, the speed, all of the above, the size that Nicholas Harbor possesses. We're talking about a guy that runs in the low 10s in the 100 meter. 6'5", 225 are his measurables. In case you forgot, he was the number 1 rated player at his position, the number 1 athlete, I should say, in the 2023 signing class, a .9901 in the 24/7 Sports composite, of course, was the lone 5-star of the 2023 signing class. And Shane Beamer, you could tell, obviously, was giddy to land Harbor out of the DMV. Talked about how they will use him this season on the outside at the wide receiver position, which was music to all of our ears, right? Because there was some debate. Will he play defense? Will he play tight end? And Beamer made it very, very clear that, hey, this is not a guy we're asking to put his hand in the dirt or anything like that. He's going to make plays, right? We're going to ask him to catch the football to make plays on the outside. The biggest thing for Nicholas Harbor will be this: the adjustment to college football, yes, but also the adjustment to playing the wide receiver position. The big question I've heard from people: can he catch the football? Can he run routes? Those are things he will have to sharpen. He will have to refine. He will have to learn in order to be an effective wide receiver. But I think it's a safe bet to say that Nicholas Harbor is going to have a massive impact in this 2023 season, especially as the season goes, because he will learn, he will get better, his skill set overall will improve. I'm not saying he'll be a day 1 starter, but I think as the season goes, I think you'll see Nicholas Harbor get more and more and more opportunities and make more and more big plays for South Carolina. Another big freshman that I'm very excited to see, most likely to make a big impact this upcoming season. We just talked about him. And maybe this is by necessity rather than, maybe ideally in a normal situation, you'd redshirt him. But Shane Beamer, mentioned him last night, Dontavius Braswell at the running back position. I don't know that Braswell was a guy that I really factored in to this running back competition, just because I think we all assumed that South Carolina would go to the portal, would land a true RB1, and from there, I think the supporting cast pieces of DeCarrion Joyner and Juju McDowell and Mario Anderson would be enough to where a true freshman Dontavius Braswell wouldn't really have to be a dude for you. That is not the case. Shane Beamer, I thought, spoke very candidly last night. And I'm not saying, guys, listen, things can change, things can happen. And I'm sure Beamer is holding the cards very close to the vest. But it sounded like to me that South Carolina is going to roll in the 2023 season with the all we got's all we need, and all we got's all we got at the running back position. It feels like they're going to roll with what they got unless somebody kind of comes out of nowhere. And I'm sure there are guys out there. There's ball carriers out that they could pick up. But Beamer was very candid. Again, you want, 5 scholarship running backs, and they've got 4 right now. And you look at Dontavius Braswell. I mean, this is not just some slouch, right? Dontavius Braswell, a 4-star running back out of the state of Georgia, 5'11", 200 pounds, was the 16th ranked running back in the 2023 signing class, a .9128 on the 24/7 Sports composite. So, I mean, Dontavius Braswell certainly a guy saying, hey, don't count me out. Don't count me out of the running back race. And I think out of necessity, you are going to see Braswell touch the football and get some carries early in this season for sure. You never know. He could turn into the RB1. The answer to the running back woes could be on the way. Guys, I'm the big Gamecocks freshman I'm really excited for, and I think it's going to make a big impact this upcoming season. And this one, again, feels like sort of a no-brainer. Grayson Pup Howard at the linebacker position. Again, is he a day 1 starter? I'm not exactly sure with the return of Mo Kaba, with Debo Williams, Stone Blanton is back. I'm not sure that Pup graces the field against North Carolina as a starting linebacker. But this has been a dude who has been, number one, a fan favorite from the moment he committed. He's obviously a guy that on social media loves to tout the Gamecocks and recruit for the Gamecocks. And, he wears the garnet and black very, very proudly on and off the field. But he's also a damn good football player as well, right? You look at his measurables. 6'3.5", 220 pounds out of Jacksonville, Florida. A 4-star in the 2023 class, .9272 in the 24/7 Sports Composite, the 18th ranked linebacker in the 2023 class. And all the reports were positive coming out of spring ball. We saw him in the spring game as well, flying around, making plays. And I think we all felt like when he signed that this was going to be a dude that was an immediate impact player for South Carolina. And I would most certainly expect that again. Do I think he'll be a guy that's starting game one? Maybe not necessarily, but I do think you're going to hear Grayson Puff Howard's name a lot. I think he could be, not to put unfair expectations, but maybe he could be this year's version of, let's just say, a Nick Emanwari, a guy who bursts on the scene, freshman all SEC type of talent. Certainly he's got that capability. Another big Gamecocks freshman I expect to make a big impact this season. Again, talking about another freshman that they have ranted and raved over. We knew that edge was a position of need, so that is why landing this specific player out of the DMV was such a big deal. Desmond Umeozulu, standing at 6'6", 239 pounds. The 21st rated edge in the 2023 signing class, a .9390 on the 24/7 Sports Composite. Of course, a 4-star in the 23 class. And Umeozulu, again, guys, is a guy we heard a lot about through spring ball. Dominating off the edge, showing flashes as a true freshman. And again, you hear those measurables. And that's a guy, has the build, has the body. He is ready to make an impact on the SEC level. Also, of course, guys, all these guys that went through spring ball, that were early enrollees, that helps them out tremendously. It's why you're seeing so many young guys play nowadays, because the early enrollee thing has changed the game for getting acclimated to college football, SEC football, and making an immediate impact. So Desmond Umeozulu, again, is he a day one starter? You've got Jordan Strawn on one side, Jatius Gear on the other. So I don't think you have to thrust him in there, but I most certainly believe that Desmond Umeozulu will indeed make a big, big impact for the Gamecocks in the 2023 season. Next on my list, and this one will get our friend Bruin Nation going, and you already know where I'm going with this. You know, I told myself when he signed that I was going to be very patient and wasn't going to expect anything in year one, because as we know, this is Spencer Rattler's team. And I already fell victim to last year, getting excited to seeing folks like Tanner Bailey, Braden Davis, thinking to myself, oh, you know, when South Carolina's up by 30 on Charlotte or 30 on SC State, or they've got a big lead against Vandy, you know, we're going to see the Gamecocks, you know, get in their backups to get experience. We'll get a glimpse at Tanner Bailey. We'll get a glimpse at Braden Davis. And that never came to fruition for many different reasons. It was the Spencer Rattler show from start to finish, which I'm fine with. But it was sort of a letdown, not getting to see these guys after all the hype on the recruiting trail. And, you know, you're just so anxious to see what the future may look like. Well, I think we got a glimpse of it in the spring game with Lenoris Sellers and what he did in his very limited action coming out of South Florence High School in Florence, South Carolina. Of course, a big recruiting victory for Shane Beamer to flip him from Syracuse to the Gamecocks. He stands at 6'3", 217 pounds is what he's listed right now, or what he's listed when he signed. As we talked to J.D. Piquel yesterday, 6'3", 230. Big, big kid. A 4-star, a .9127 on the 24/7 Sports Composite. He was the 4th rated player, the number 4 overall player in the state of South Carolina, the 17th rated quarterback in the 2023 recruiting class. And folks, based off of what we've heard, he's a guy that if they had started paying attention a little bit sooner, he could have been a 5-star. Really, truly has the tools and the intangibles to be a 5-star type of player. Now, when he signed, you know, I didn't think much of it in the sense of, okay, Lenoris Sellers is going to play a lot. He'll make a big impact. But we've kind of, since the spring game, definitely, there's been momentum around Lenoris Sellers. Hey, maybe he could help the Gamecocks in a Tim Tebow type freshman role, right? Wes Mitchell, a Gamecock Central, talking with JD Pickell about that. And we spoke with JD about that yesterday. I'm still going into this season not expecting to see a ton of Lenoris Sellers. I think preserving the red shirt would be a good thing. Granted, he can play in up to 4 games and still keep that red shirt. But South Carolina is going to play the best possible players that give them the best chance to win a lot of football games. There's a good chance Lenoris Sellers is one of those guys. And guys, especially when you think about South Carolina's questions right now at the running back position, you could argue you get to 3rd and 1, you get to 4th and 1. There's a place in this playbook, in this offense, to get creative, to use Lenoris Sellers in a quarterback power, to use him in different situations. And again, we got glimpses of it in the spring game, and I don't want to overreact to what we saw in the spring game. But when you got a guy on your roster with that type of skill set, that type of arm strength, that type of size, that type of athleticism and agility, it's hard to keep a guy like that off the field. I'm not sitting here telling you he's going to, take the starting job from Spencer Rattler or anything. He might not even be QB2. It might still be Luke Doty. But I think situationally, I think Lenoris Sellers is a guy, I'll go ahead and say, I think at least once this season will greatly impact and benefit South Carolina and this football season in a positive way. My next big freshman, and big is used here literally and figuratively, that I think is going to make a big impact this upcoming season. As I mentioned, guys, I'm cheating just a little bit. He was part of the 2023 signing class, but of course, comes from East Mississippi Community College. Elijah Davis at the defensive tackle position. We saw flashes from him in the spring game as well. 6'4", 280 pounds, a 4-star, a .9011 on the 24/7 Sports Composite, the number 1 rated defensive lineman in the 2023 cycle coming out of junior college. This guy, I thought, again, showed big-time flashes for you. The Gamecocks obviously looking for answers there on the inside with Zach Pickens moving on to the next level to the NFL. Elijah Davis could be that answer, and I think he's going to play a lot. I think he's going to play a lot. When you look at, again, the Gamecocks, they were porous. They were abysmal last year in stopping the run. You need those big bodies up front to clog the middle. And like I mentioned, guys, Elijah Davis standing at 6'4", 280 could be just what Travian Robertson is looking for on the interior defensive line. Moving on, another big freshman for me. Again, they've talked about him a lot through spring ball. And with the injury to Jalen Nichols, I know you've picked up some guys that the transfer portal's preferred walk-ons. And you don't like to ask freshman offensive linemen to play early, but they're not all built the same. And that seems to be the case with Marquis Anderson. Marquis Anderson, a guy coming from Roebuck, South Carolina, Dorman High School, 6'4", 320 pounds. This dude is a mammoth of a human being. A 4-star in the 2023 cycle, .9362, the 6th rated interior offensive lineman in the 23 class, the 2nd rated overall player in the state of South Carolina. Marquis Anderson was obviously a cornerstone piece of your signing class and should be a big-time impact player early. Will he start again? You hate to ask a true freshman to start on the offensive line in the SEC, but Anderson's built different. I think this is a guy that you talk about the Great Wall of Carolina. He will be one of the foundational pieces up front for South Carolina. And then my final one, guys, we want a little bit of a wild card here when it comes to top freshmen most likely to make a big impact this season. I think it feels like there's always one guy, right? There's always one guy in your signing class that sort of flies under the radar, right? Flies under the radar and makes almost an unexpected immediate impact. I think that guy for South Carolina this year, and somebody we've heard a lot of good things about, he's not even on campus yet, Vakari Swain coming out of Carrollton, Georgia. The 4-star athlete, 6 foot, 175 pounds, a .9284 on the 24/7 Sports Composite, a 4-star rating in the 2023 signing class. I think Swain's a guy. Do not be surprised if we're going through fall camp and you just start to hear rumblings. Hey, that Vakari Swain guy looks really good. The athleticism of Vakari Swain could help this team. Don't be surprised. Vakari Swain. You look at his film, you look at his tape. I think Vakari Swain is a dude that absolutely, 2023 season goes, could have a big-time impact for South Carolina. So, guys, that's my top Gamecocks freshman, most likely to make a big impact this upcoming season. And, of course, I think we'd all agree that while you have veterans and returners and transfer portal guys, I think a lot of the success of this season will hinge on the performance of some of these impact youngsters that'll be asked to make a big-time impact early. Guys, that being said, let's go ahead and jump into another break. On the other side, we'll keep the conversation going. We'll keep the banter rocking and rolling here on a Thursday. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow.
Muscle Dougie Ho. That's your Dougie ho.
All right, guys, we're back Thursday, May the 18th, 2023. I want to thank each and every single one of you for tuning in here on this Thursday. Excuse me. And I want to keep the conversation going on the notes of recruiting. And we just talked about the top Gamecocks freshmen, most likely to make a big impact this upcoming season. And that list felt really long. And here's the reason why. Shane Beamer and company are crushing it on the recruiting trail. And I know we'd all agree, right? A class that in the 2023 cycle finished 17th overall. And you look at the way recruiting has improved under Shane Beamer and his coaching staff, and the Gamecocks are primed to have one of their best classes in school history in this 2024 cycle. The question I get a lot is why and how? What is Shane Beamer doing to win at this rate on the recruiting trail? And so I just wanted to take a moment today to speak to that, because I think it's important to reinforce the positive message, really just the message of what we are seeing right now and what Shane Beamer is building, and in my opinion, what is setting him apart. Because when you look at South Carolina, guys, and you look at the history of this program, I've talked about this many times, but you look at the history of this program. We knew years ago, right? Will Muschamp gets fired, and you began your search for a new head football coach. This was a program that was lost, did not know where to go. Steve Spurrier left you in the cold for all the good he did, left you midseason. You hire Will Muschamp. That era goes the way we know. The rest is history with that. And so the Gamecocks were looking for their answer, looking for their guy. And it's why we said during that search, you know, I had the privilege to talk to so many former players during that time. Guys that knew Shane Beamer, played for Shane Beamer, were recruited by Shane Beamer. And you heard many times, he wants to be here. He loves South Carolina. He sees South Carolina for what it can be and not what it's always been. And at some other schools, guys, that type of buy-in and that type of want to, at some other schools, that's not that important. It's not. That's not the most important quality. That's not the most important thing that you can have. But at South Carolina, I think you have to have that, because this is a unique job. This is a hard job, and it's a unique job. It's one in which you have to have the mental fortitude, the mental toughness to step into a situation where you are trying to actively achieve things that have never been done before. And it's not a small sample size. They've been playing football in Columbia for over 100 years, and you're trying to accomplish things that have never been accomplished before. And I'm sure many of you can attest to this. Those of you who went to all the welcome home tour events and stuff like that. Those of you who have met Shane Beamer. Again, I've had the privilege to have one-on-one conversations with Coach Beamer. Meet him in person, obviously. And I know this gets tossed around a lot about people and coaches especially, but how can you not feel the authentic nature of a guy like Beamer, how genuine he is, his belief in South Carolina, his love and admiration for the University of South Carolina. And so you circle this all back to recruiting. and why they're winning at the levels they are in recruiting. Today's guest, Mark Ryan, has asked me many times, Chris, what is he doing? How is he selling this to recruits? And how is he selling this in recruiting? How is he selling South Carolina? Because, God, you think about this. I'm not saying the Gamecocks are lagging, well behind in the NIL space, but they're not number one. They're not even number two. They're not the leaders in the NIL space. There's a lot of work to be done by Carolina Rise, the Garnet Trust, Park Avenue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think a coach like Shane Beamer, though, in this transfer portal NIL world that we all live in, I think Shane Beamer is showing that being a genuine, authentic human being, setting very realistic expectations, and creating relationships is still what wins in recruiting. Because I don't care what type of bag you get. I don't care what it is. At the end of the day, if you're a recruit, you better be somewhere where you're comfortable. You better be somewhere where you believe in the culture. You better be somewhere where you believe in the vision. Be somewhere where you like being coached by whatever coach it is you committed to. Be somewhere where you have a realistic opportunity to play and make an impact. That better still be at the forefront because, guys, we've talked about it before. Third-string tight ends ain't getting NIL. Backups ain't getting a whole lot of NIL. You better be somewhere you can make that type of impact and you can flourish and you can thrive. And you can be part of something where a coach or the organization doesn't just see you as a number. They see you as a name, as a human being. And Shane Beamer, of course, preaches that all the time. Above all else, love. But I think Beamer's best quality as a coach, he's relatable. And again, he sees South Carolina for what it can be, not what it's always been. And I think because of that mentality, because of that attitude, I think you will see him continue to win big in recruiting. I think South Carolina is going to become, I would predict, guys, at minimum. Of course, you need on-field results to support this, no doubt. But I think you're going to see the Gamecocks be top 15 every single year. I mean, guys, he's already doing it. He's already pulling in these big-time recruits without really winning, quote-unquote, big. I mean, eight games is nice. But, I mean, a guy like Nicholas Harbor could have went anywhere. A lot of these guys could have went anywhere. But they believed in what Beamer was preaching. They believed in what Beamer was telling them. And Shane Beamer obviously is one of these new age coaches, very relatable, as we mentioned, and a guy that, you listen to him talk, you see him on game day. How could you not want to play for that guy? And as the wins continue to come and the successes and the victories pile up, that belief that Beamer has, that infectious personality, I mean, what do you think, guys? It's only going to grow. It's only going to grow. It's only going to get better and better and better. Now, there will be adversity along the way. There will be challenges. But I think Beamer has already shown he is up to the challenge. And he's also going to utilize his experience at his previous stops. I think he's also doing that in recruiting. That's why the footprint they have is kind of so all over the place, right? They're not just limited to South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, the Southeast. They're going up, owning the DMV. And I know some people, especially right now, what's going on with the running back stuff, will clamor for some changes in certain positions to recruit their position better. No doubt. I don't disagree. But Shane Beamer, in my opinion, I believe this, every decision that he makes is in the best interest of South Carolina football. I don't see Beamer ever leading with selfish intentions. I don't think Beamer is going to lead with this just best benefits me. How it impacts South Carolina's secondary. Based off what I've seen and heard and what we've seen and heard, his number one goal and his number one initiative is doing what is best for the University of South Carolina and for this football program. And for that reason, again, I think Shane Beamer, they're already winning big on the recruiting trail. I mean, you see what they're doing, right? You see what they're doing. And I think you're going to continue to see that over the coming years. I think South Carolina, it's a fair expectation, in my opinion, to see them be top 15 in the country, top 20 at minimum annually, which is going to put you in a great position. Also, we've talked blue chip ratio a lot. I think you're seeing that change, obviously. And as we mentioned before, if South Carolina, let's say 4 or 5 years from now or more, however many it takes, if South Carolina is in the college football playoff, if they're in the SEC championship, God forbid they're in the national championship, we will be able to look back. We will look back and we will say the reason we're at this point is because recruiting changed. And why did recruiting change? Because you have a head coach, you have a leader in Shane Beamer who fiercely believes in where he is and what it can be. And when you have that, I think you got something special. Guys, let's jump into another break. On the other side, we'll bring in my good friend Mark Ryan, the fan upstate, as we'll talk everything Gamecocks, college football, SEC, anything and everything in between. Always an electric conversation with Mark. Guys, thank you all so much again. We're going to jump into a quick break. Mark Ryan on the side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow.
Muscle Dougie, ho. Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back Thursday, May the 18th, 2023. Again, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Very excited to get our good friend Mark Ryan of the Fan Upstate on the show here in the next couple of minutes as we await Mark to join us. Guys, as you see, I'm rocking the victory tee right here, the R-State Palmetto Bowl victory tee. You may have seen on social media, we are running those back. Very excited to re-release those shirts for a limited time only. So go check out the link in our bio or check out the post that we put on social media. Link in bio, probably the best and easiest way to find that. Those shirts are available now, but only for a limited time. I think we're running those for about a week and a half or so. I think the 29th is your last day to order, if I do recall correctly. So be sure to check that out. Really, really exciting stuff. And always love bringing the merchandise to you guys. So anyways, in the meantime, guys, make sure you're leaving your questions, comments, calls for our Power Hour in hour number 3, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377 here on this Thursday. Like I mentioned, guys, we're waiting on Mark Ryan. Mark is not a guy who likes to be early. I can tell you that. I might have to give Mark some crap. No, I'm just kidding. I appreciate Mark taking the time, and always a pleasure to chat with him. Looking forward to it. Like I mentioned, guys, we got the rally puppy in the studio, so vibes are at an all-time high today. Let me also say this, guys. Thank y'all so much for the support on the podcast side of things. I don't know how many of you that tune in the live show have also been tuning in the podcast, but I just will say this. We have felt the love in a big, big, big way on the podcast side of things in regards to the numbers, the downloads, the plays, if you will. So thank you all so much, man. This week, it seems like you guys really do love and enjoy the new format of how we're publishing, producing content, if you will. So love to see that. And I value you guys' feedback tremendously. So thank you all so much. Anyways, guys, like I mentioned, we are waiting on Mark Ryan. It looks like there he is. Of course, it's always an electric conversation, one we always look forward to. And of course, in case you missed it, gave you guys the full rundown beginning of the week. But Mark Ryan will now join us on Thursdays at 1:15, which I know he was joining us on Tuesdays at 12:15. So we've shuffled some things around a little bit, but either way, he is here. We're rocking. We're rolling. Mark Ryan of the Fan Upstate. Offsides with Mark Ryan airs every single day, 3 to 7 over at the Fan Upstate. Mark, what's going on, my friend? Appreciate you jumping on. How are you?
What is up to all the Daily Crow fans that I see in the chat line here? How y'all doing? It is fantastic to be here. Man, I'm fired up, brother. I'm fired up. I got my Garnet on today.
I'm about to say, I feel like you save your Garnet shirt for this every week, which you know what? We appreciate that. We appreciate that.
I know you guys didn't think I had Garnet in my wardrobe, but here we are, my friends. Here we are. Great to be here with you guys, man. What's good?
Dude, what's going on, man? I will say this, Mark. I don't know if you got the news. I know we jumped on your show on Monday. TDC is now running noon to 3 every single day. We've added an hour, added some structure to the show as well, and we're exclusively on YouTube now. So I know that I didn't really give you the 411 of what was going on, but yeah. So some changes on this end, but some positive changes. They've been well received, but either way, keeping you a part of the show was something I definitely wanted to do, and I appreciate you taking the time. And Mark, let's go ahead and jump into it because I want to give
Congrats, by the way. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I want to give.
I'll tell you, Chris, my experience has been 3 hours is the perfect length of show. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I don't know if it's going to be, if you're still going to do just 100% Gamecock content for 3 hours, or if you're going to work in NFL draft stuff or other big stories, right? I don't, that's up to you. It's your show. I think 3 hours is the perfect length of show. The second most common length of show is 2 hours. 4 hours is a marathon, and we do that every day. And now on CBS nationally, Chris, I'm doing 5 hours. When they first asked me that, I thought they were joking. I legit thought they were joking. And then it is a long time, man. It is a long time. But you start to build the confidence. Like, man, if I can do this, I can do anything. I'll tell you, Chris, the thing that built the most confidence for me was March 20th, between March 12th, 2020, between March 12th and the end of July, when the pandemic started. We had no sports, right? We're on the air for 4 hours a day with no sports. And we had the highest ratings in the market during a time in which there were no sports. And I just kept telling everyone at our station, guys, if we can do this, we can do anything. There's nothing you can't do than if you can entertain people for 4 hours a day when there's no sports. So you've got that challenge, brother. You've earned it. What programming changes are you going to have? Is it still going to be all Gamecocks all the time, or?
Well, so I'm more than willing to get outside of the Gamecock sphere and definitely talk like SEC, because I think, Gamecock fans care about what's going on in the Southeastern Conference, also nationally in college football, college baseball, whatever. So I'm willing to get outside of that. I mean, obviously I'm going to spend the majority of the time talking Gamecocks because people tune to this show for their Gamecock fix. But yes, there's definitely more structure now, Mark. Before I was just kind of wide open, questions, comments, calls, like let the callers and the commenters run the show. And that's still a part of the show, but I'm actually devoting hour number one now solely to hitting on the three or four topics that I want to discuss. So, for example, today we talked Tennessee baseball series this weekend. I talked top Gamecocks freshmen that I think will make an impact this season. Also talked why I believe Shane Beamer is making and will continue to make such big recruiting victories. Then hour number two, we're going to devote to guests like yourself. And then hour number three, we're going to call it our Power Hour wide open Q&A traditional Daily Crow. So almost kind of like a radio show. So thank you for the inspiration. Kind of like your typical radio show with a little flair, if you will. But it's been great, man. I've loved the structure that it's brought, the organization. I didn't realize how much I would like it, to be honest. And also it goes hand in hand with the way that we are distributing content on our podcast feed. So for example, like the way that, you go to the Fan Upstate and you go to like your specific show and you see everything kind of segmented out. We're also doing that on our podcast feed on iTunes, Spotify. So like instead of one big hour, 45-minute show, you've now got the show broken up into 5 separate pieces, which, I've learned and through different conversations I've had is the way to win in content. And it just makes sense, right? In this culture we live in, people want it. They want it now. They don't want to have to sift through 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours of show to find what they want to hear. So anyways, man, it's, I always love to reinvent myself and to grow and evolve. And so it's been a really exciting thing. And it's always fun when you can take something that's already successful and you have fun doing, and you can find ways to make it even better and look at it through a critical eye. I think that's always fun. I know you do the same thing with your show and what you guys do. So.
Yeah, brother, listen, you're on your way, man. You're on your way, and it's really exciting. And I congratulate you on this expansion, especially focusing on YouTube. And Diesel and I will have conversations all the time, man, about, what are the most podcastable segments that we have on the show in a given day, right? Yesterday, we had one with Landon Powell, North Greenville University. I don't know if any of your no one here knows who LandonOwell is, right? I just want to make sure.
Just the best catcher in school history, no big deal.
Yeah. No one here is watching that. And also, Chris, there were 2 different surveys yesterday that ranked the attractiveness of people by state. One had South Carolina 14th out of 50, which is good. One had us 46th because they said we don't care about grooming. We're fat, we have STDs, and we're not physically active. We were 46th. So we were debating which of those 2 is more likely to be accurate. And let me tell you, Chris, I don't know if you ladies and gentlemen, you see what's on your screen right here. but I think we are helping. No, I'm just kidding. I think we are hurting the attractiveness level of the state. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this actually on that note is like that to me felt like I was like, okay, it's obvious to me that Mark and Diesel are in peak offseason mode. That felt like the most peak offseason headline. Like that's just one of those like there's nothing going on. And you're like, let's talk about this attractiveness poll. Which I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. Like it was incredible.
Well, I'll tell you, Chris, our show always is about 75% sports, 25% non-sports. The show is called Offsides for a reason. It's a little bit off color. We do things that other people wouldn't do. I think you would agree, Chris, the mainstream media kind of ostracizes us, the both of us, really. But that's kind of our thing. So it's not that we wouldn't do that topic in the season, but it's like when your choices are, you always got college football and NFL stuff going on, but then we can do hockey or NBA or a fun topic like that. What we find, Chris, is that those kind of topics get far more interaction than talking hockey or talking NBA in South Carolina. It just doesn't work as well, so you might as well have fun. The first letter of ESPN stands for entertainment. And there's nothing wrong with having a little sidebar conversation that may not be sports related. In the end, Chris, that is why we topped in the ratings when the pandemic hit, is because we have radio personalities, right? We have personalities that know how to be entertaining, that are not just guys breaking down box scores all the time,
So, Mark, I want to give you your kudos and your credit and your congratulations. And I want to give you the opportunity to soak it all in because as we've seen this week, the disbandment, if you will, I think the writing's on the wall for the ACC, the Magnificent Seven. And you 2 years ago had mentioned, hey, here, and I've got the specific tweet pulled up per a reliable source. Clemson, Florida State have reached out to the SEC about joining the conference. SEC is concerned that streaming numbers for Clemson, Florida State don't bring what Texas and Oklahoma do. Notre Dame's the only free agent left that would add to the pot. That tweet basically went viral. You had some people that appreciated your analysis and your insight and your per sources. You had some people that even in the media were ripping you to shreds. And now it comes out. It's all happening basically exactly how you said it was. So congratulations, my friend. Kudos. I know you went through you got put through the ringer on social media. And as well as I do, unfortunately with social media, when you're in the type of position we are, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you get put through the ringer. So either way, though, your thoughts on all of this sort of coming to fruition, I don't know that it necessarily surprises any of us because we're moving towards this mega conference thing. Everything is expanding, if you will. But thoughts on the ACC basically disbanding? And, I talked about it yesterday, Mark. I'd be open to Clemson joining the SEC. Your thoughts on it? Sounds like, if the Tigers leave the ACC, I think the SEC is going to be the destination they lock in on.
If the SEC wants them, Chris, right
right
now, even in Ross Dellinger's article, he's like, look, the SEC feels like they've got that portion of Florida covered with the University of Florida. They feel like they have the market in South Carolina with the Gamecocks. They're really wrong on both fronts if that's the way the SEC is thinking, Chris, because as well as I do that the Gamecocks give you half of the state. And if you want the whole state, you got to have Clemson as well. Florida gives you maybe 30, 40%. The University of Florida gives you maybe 30 to 40% of the Sunshine State. If you want all of it, you got to add Florida State. You got to add Miami. But I do want to know, Chris, if or when I'm going to get an apology, are you aware if I'm going to get an apology from the Cotton Gin anytime soon? Because it was the Cotton Gin.
Was that the tweet they were referring to? That was the tweet they were referring to when they put you on the marquee.
That was it.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know which specific tweet it was.
No, it was that night. It was when that tweet blew up that day.
Wow.
They put it up that night, and they put up there, our sources tell us Mark Ryan has bad sources. And honestly, Chris, it was the best gift they ever could have given me. You have no idea how many times I've used that, how great that is. I had people in the building that were like, "There's no way that's real." I'm like, "No, it's real." Like I've had
Yeah.
people walking by the sign telling me it's real. But Chris, to your point, um, like I had a conversation that day, August 2nd, 2021, with one of the top 10 college football personalities in the country. Now, if you name the top 10 college football personalities in the country, I'm telling you, it was one of them. And I asked him, I said, "Well, why aren't you coming out with this?" He said, "Man, I don't want that smoke." And he knew there was going to be smoke. And Chris, that I don't care about getting the smoke. You know what I mean?
You
Like I'm
want
going
all
to,
the smoke, Mark Ryan. You want
yeah,
all the
I'm
smoke.
going to share
As
with
do I
people.
most of the time. I'm down with it. Bring the smoke.
I'm going to share with people what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So this was what I'm hearing. Do I know did I know conclusively then that it was right? Well, yeah, because if you had one of the top 10 college football voices in America telling that to you, a Kirk Herbstreit, a Paul Feinbaum-esque personality that you're having a conversation with, and they're telling you this, yeah, I believe it. And every single thing that has come out since then, Chris, has supported that belief. We knew this was happening. Clemson didn't want it known at the time. Florida State didn't want it known at the time. Hell, man, their university president put out a letter on university letterhead denying the report. And then all these media members were like, "See that guy? He's no good. He made it up. Look, they're all denying it." People denying it doesn't mean it's not true, Chris. You know that. I know that. I recently had a deal with Graham Neff on the sideline at Clemson, where I was at the Clemson spring game. And Graham Neff, we had a chat, and he said, "Mark, we've heard you on Brad Brownell, and we want to let you know if we don't take the next step this season, there's going to be a change." And I said, "Wow, I can't believe how candid you're being. Can I share that?" He said, "Yes." And then I got to deal with people, Chris, saying, "I don't believe it unless I hear it from Graham Neff himself. I don't believe it." Well, you're unfollowed. You get the hell out of here. Like, you're out of here. I'm going to be on the sideline at Clemson making stuff up. I know what happened, Chris. You know what happened. And, I appreciate the support all along.
Indeed, Mark. I was going to say on the note of Cotton Gin, by the way, Thomas Dugas is the general manager there. And I actually threw a watch party. Yeah, I threw a watch party there one time, 2019. But what I did not realize is that he actually worked in recruiting at South Carolina under Will Muschamp. So if you want me to facilitate that apology, I don't think we're going to get very far, my friend. I don't think he's my biggest fan, and I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, Mark, moving forward, I want to get into this, man. So you recently on your show this week, of course, you dropped your athletics predictions for both South Carolina and Clemson. 3 predictions for both sides. Sticking with the Gamecock side specifically. Normally, I'd start with football, but I want to start with basketball because so many people are torn. Maybe torn's too strong, but so many people are just kind of up in the air on Lamont Paris, don't know what to think. Gamecocks basketball, is sort of just wandering in the wilderness, doesn't even know what it is, whatever. You are confident that Lamont Paris will lead the Gamecocks to March Madness in year 3. Why? Like, what stands out about Lamont Paris to you that you believe he'll be able to take South Carolina to those heights by his 3rd year?
Well, I'll tell you, man. I thought he was a great hire. And I looked at his track record, and I looked at what he did at Chattanooga. And there isn't a coach alive who could have saved that dumpster fire, which was G.G. Jackson and 4 guys from the Y last year. Okay? There wasn't a coach alive who could have saved the island of misfit toys that was that roster. Okay? But what you see when you have a very good head coach is you see a natural progression. Sometimes it isn't always linear. Sometimes you take 1 step back to take 2 steps forward. But Chris, I could see Lamont Paris making the NIT next year, which has been Clemson basketball's home for quite some time, and then I think the next step after that is to make the NCAA tournament. And I think his message is resonating. I think he's got a good system. I think being in the ear of Dawn Staley every single day can only help him, right? And I think there's a lot to be excited about there, man. It's more about belief in the coach and belief in the program builder. And I am buying Lamont Paris' stock. I'm a believer in who he is.
Mark, moving forward, man, you mentioned also in these athletics predictions, Beamer's going to get one more win over Dabo in the next 3 seasons. And you mentioned that Clemson baseball and softball will surpass South Carolina. I'll just ask you this, or leave me this: the rivalry as a whole, your expectations for the rivalry as a whole. Who do you see having? Because I know you guys talked a lot about having control of the state and being able to make that claim, right? I think you said you got to win what, 3 out of 5? Is that right? Do you want to fill me in on what did, or 3 in a row or something like that? What was the disclaimer?
Look, South Carolina has the belt right now, and when you've won the most recent rivalry, it's the South Carolina Clemson game. Clemson fans hate when we say that, by the way, Chris. They hate. To them, all I hear here in this part of the state, the upstate, is it's Clemson, South Carolina. Clemson, South Carolina. No, when you win the game, it's South Carolina, Clemson. They hold the belt. Now, whether you run the rivalry or not, right? Whether you run the rivalry or not, I think you win 3 times in 5 years, Chris. Over a 5-year period, you've won the majority of the games. You hold that title. And so for me, you look at when is South Carolina going to have the best chance to win? We had Josh Pate on our show. He said right at the beginning of the offseason, he would have the line Clemson minus 3.5. We've seen other lines that are out there, Clemson minus 6.5 in that game, Chris. Bottom line is that's a 1-score game. So South Carolina absolutely has a great chance to win this year. Next year, probably not so much. No more Spencer Rattler. Cade Klubnik going into year 2.5 or 3 as a starter at Clemson. I think Clemson is the serious favorite there. But then again, the final year of this stretch at South Carolina, man, look, I think he's going to have a couple of great swings at it. I think Beamer, and again, this comes down to belief in Beamer himself and what he's building. Do you agree? I think South Carolina gets 1 more of the next 3. I didn't say 2 of the next 3. I didn't say 3 of the next 3. I still think Clemson is ahead of where the Gamecocks are as a program overall. I think most objective Gamecock fans, maybe you as an objective Gamecock fan, Chris, would agree with that. But I think the bar has been raised enough to claim 1 of the next 3.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I'll tell you this, Mark, is somebody who I talked with Brad Lawing again last week, and he's somebody that knows football. And, I mentioned to him, he told me last year this time that Clemson was 4 or 5 years ahead of where Carolina is roster-wise, everything else. And he still said, yeah, I actually still believe that. But what Beamer did was, incredible, and then pulling the upset and everything. So, yes, I think Clemson, listen, they've been stacking classes on classes on classes, the way they've been recruiting, the way they've been winning. Yeah, it would make sense their program is still years ahead of Carolina. That doesn't mean that South Carolina can't beat them for sure. But that leads me to this. So you say 1 out of the next 3. I'm going to ask you, it's May, but are you ready to call your shot that this is going to be the one that the Gamecocks get this season? It's on the home field. You obviously like it a lot. Hey, I'll tell you this. I went on record last year over the summer and made the predictions. Are you ready to be that bold, or how confident, let me say this, how confident are you that the 1 is going to be this one at Williams-Brice Stadium this season?
40% chance. 40% chance. That's a chance, Chris. That's better than, so you're saying there's a chance, right? That's almost a coin flip shot. I'd say 40% chance, but Chris, I'm not going to let you do this to me when I asked you for South Carolina's grade on Monday, and you hit me with you're not ready to give that yet. Okay.
Fair enough. Hey, listen. I will be there though. The week of July 4th, I will have a prediction locked in, game by game, scores, everything. But I can't spoil that, Mark. I also just have not sat down and really gone through it game by game, because I'll be honest with you, Mark. I do my research. Don't get me wrong, but man, I sit down and whatever comes to me, I roll with, and it's worked out to this point because year 1 of Shane Beamer, I picked 6-6, 3-5. They went 6-6, 3-5. Last year, I picked 8-4, 4-4 with a win over Clemson. Exactly hit it. So I'm hoping to go 3 for 3 and hit this one. And somebody told me you need to just pick 12-0. So I don't think I can do that though. But yeah.
But by the way, you helped me out with the graphics there, Chris. But the goal for Clemson this year, as we've said here on the Daily Crow, the goal for South Carolina this year is 9-3. That would be an A. A B is 8-4. That would be successful. You've consistently done something that Muschamp couldn't. 7-5 would be disappointing. That'd be a C or a D. And an F would be 6-6 or worse. Chris, I'm going B. I'm going 8-4. I think Beamer has raised the bar above and beyond where Will Muschamp is. If he falls short of that, Chris, if it's 7-5 with a bowl loss, then you got the same record as Will Muschamp after 3 years. And if I could say one damn thing, Chris, to South Carolina fans, stop using the damn schedule as an excuse. Stop building in excuses for poor performance. Okay? I went to Florida. See the flag up here? I went to the University of Florida. Florida has an over/under by DraftKings of 5.5 wins. You think a single Gator is going to consider 6-6 a successful year? And it's because the schedule is so daunting. My guy Kelly Ford, Chris, has told me the Gators have the toughest schedule in the nation to get to 6 wins. Okay, guess who number 2 is? South Carolina. Stop telling me your program is better when you have a worse record. Stop telling me that crap. You got to move past that, Chris. And I don't even know if you understand the importance of this or your fan base does. When you are in that mode of making excuses for your program to finish 7-5 and 6-6, your program never graduates. Your program never elevates. You need to up the expectation. And I'll channel something I've said, Chris, something you said on my show Monday. Part of the reason that Georgia's schedule is viewed as easy and South Carolina's is viewed as hard is because Georgia's on South Carolina's schedule and South Carolina's on Georgia's schedule. And if you're a Gamecock fan, that would piss me off that Georgia has an easy schedule. What do you mean? Florida's on the schedule and South Carolina's on the schedule. What do you mean it's easy? What the hell are you talking about? Right? It's up to you to make playing the Gamecocks a difficult challenge. So I'm not buying that there's any schedule excuse. Hey, it's okay if we went 7-5 because the schedule was brutal. Man, that is, Chris, that is a loser's mentality. And the fan base needs to graduate from that.
Mark, moving on to the diamond, off the gridiron to the diamond. From what you've seen from afar, South Carolina losers of 9 of 12, 8 of their last 9. Tennessee comes into town this weekend, 2-11 on the road, by the way, but a massive series for both sides. Something's got to give, man. You're just overall thoughts. Are you somebody, watching or what you've seen from this team? Do you hit the panic button before the postseason? Because as you and I both know, that's really what matters in baseball. All that matters is that you get there and then your season basically starts over. You're 0-0 once again. How do you view this South Carolina ball club right now? I know that your expectations have not changed in the slightest, but just overall thoughts, because it's very, I would say very tense times for the Yardcocks and the fan base right now.
When I see something like this, Chris, I'm thinking immediately to the locker room, and I'm thinking to myself, what happened here, right? There was a year, Chris, in the NBA where Roy Hibbert of the Indiana Pacers' wife slept with another player on the team. And after that happened, the whole season went in the crapper for the Pacers. The whole season. Now, I'm not saying that somebody slept with coach's wife, or I'm not saying that, but I think, Chris, when that happens, it's deeper than just the play on the diamond. I'm not seeing the same joy that I've seen this team play with the entire year. I'm not seeing the same I got your back. This has gone from a team having the most fun in the country to a team whose ass is so tight you can't fit a pin in it with a hammer, okay? And I don't know why that is. A lot of times that's something that happened in the locker room. Somebody got in a fight. Somebody said something about somebody's mama, and there's a deeper locker room issue that is going on that is not readily apparent to you or me or the viewer, right? And so that's what you're wondering right now. That's what you're worried about. That's what you're wondering. You're right. I don't change the expectations. Make Omaha or you failed, because the season, this roster is damn well good enough to win the national championship. Damn well good enough to win the national championship, Chris. So I was going to ask you, man. I mean, you watch every single game this team played. What's happened to the pitching staff? Like, if you were diagnosing the problems on this team, I can tell you that intangibles, those things we're not seeing, make up more than 50% of the one-loss equation. But let's talk tangibles here just for a minute. What's not getting done that was getting done earlier in the year?
Well, I will say this. The pitching was fantastic last weekend. In the midweek, obviously, you lose to Charlotte. Not, you throw in some guys that don't normally throw, but again, that's not a good excuse. We talked to JB of Inside the Gamecocks, and he had mentioned, and I agree, guys, for whatever reason, going away from their fastball. But Mark, to your point, if I had to sum it up, I know you just said let's talk tangibles, but I really do believe it has been mental, this losing streak, this slump, if you will. Because like you mentioned, it can't be a physical mistake because we've seen these exact same guys start 34-6, be arguably the best team in college baseball, sweep the Florida Gators, your team, right? And it's funny, since sweeping Florida, I don't know if it's you that put a hex on them or Kevin O'Sullivan, but they haven't been the same team. I don't know what's going on. So, I think it is really the biggest challenge, I think, Mark. I mean, listen, baseball is a very hard game, we know, and the game has a way of the numbers even themselves out. But I think the greatest challenge for this team going into this weekend and beyond, it is the mental side. Like you mentioned, the game isn't very fun right now. There's not a lot of joy right now. And so for this team, they need something good to happen and some good things to happen consecutively to get that mojo back and get that good feeling back. But I agree, Mark. I mean, if it's going to happen, it's got to start this weekend, the final weekend of the regular season. Then you'll go into the SEC tournament where South Carolina has never really played well in Hoover ever. And then you got the postseason. And I think also, too, Mark, I think what's also really irking Gamecock fans is while all this is happening, look up the road. Eric Bakich, Clemson.
Well,
They're the hottest team in college baseball. Yeah, and he came on your show, I know, and got the fan upstate boost.
Got the offsides bump.
Right.
Got the offsides bump, okay? It's time for you to get the Gamecock coaches.
Seriously.
I got to get out of Steve Fink's blocked email list, man. I got to get out of that, Chris. But
I'm right there with you, my guy. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. My question to you is, Chris, and again, just between you and I, we're doing them a favor. I enjoy having coaches on, but the people who get it in media understand that for us to have your coaches on, we're giving you guys publicity. Publicity is a positive thing. We're not going to have your coaches on to throw them under the bus. We're more professional than that, And so this whole mindset that some in the Gamecock athletic offices have that, oh, he's been critical of us, so we're going to, give him the block. That is such small-minded, small school BS. South Carolina is a much bigger school than that, and big-time programs don't behave in that way. I would be at Houston Texans NFL games in Houston Texans, Chris, writing an article obliterating the Texans and their decisions from their press box. And they never relinquished credentials to me for doing that. They appreciated that we were discussing them, right? So you just don't make things personal. That's what you do, and that's how you go. Now, I gotta ask you one more thing, Chris, and I know you're asking me questions, but at the same time, we had Landon Powell on yesterday. Last June, we had Landon Powell on after they won the national championship. And he told us then, Chris, he goes, I've been open and upfront about everyone in our administration that the Gamecock baseball job is the one baseball job that would be my dream job. That's what he told us last June. I considered asking him that again yesterday, Chris. I decided against it because they're starting their regional today. I didn't want to shift the focus off of that. My question is, when you have a guy like that that's out there, that that is the vibe about, right? Incidentally, Chris, he told me that he had an interview for another D1 job, and they asked him to detail all of his strategies and recruiting strategies in a homework assignment, and he didn't. He said, "No, I'm not going to do that." And he said, "Here's why: because then I don't get the job. What if I don't get the job, and now they have all of my strategies and everything that makes me different and better than the competition? They have that in their hands. So no, I'm not going to do that assignment." That D1 school ended up offering him a job anyway, even though he refused the assignment and he didn't take it. But when you have a guy like that that's out there, Does Tanner make a move after this year if the results are not Omaha? Would you make a move to Landon Powell after this year if the results are not Omaha?
The inner Gamecock fan in me would say yes, because of, Landon Powell, man, he's a legend. And also, too, by the way, that's awesome you guys had him on. I actually had him on last year as well when he was at the regionals. One of his former players set it up, and yeah, he mentioned the same thing to me. He would take the South Carolina job in a heartbeat, which I just thought was really cool to hear him say that. I'll be totally frank and transparent. I've said this before on the airwaves. I'd be a little skeptical, to be honest with you, because I love Landon Powell, but I just because you win at D2 doesn't mean that you're going to win at South Carolina in the SEC. That's just my opinion. That's just my take. And I don't know that the way that I view the South Carolina job is an elite job that should draw an elite name, which is why a lot of people didn't like Mark Kingston from the jump. I don't think it's a job like South Carolina football where you hire a guy like Shane Beamer and it's a starter job and you go with a flyer and let's just see if we can roll the dice. This isn't a roll the dice kind of job.
Chris, look at Kalen DeBoer at Washington. Look at Chris Kleeman at Kansas State. Okay, look at what some of these guys are doing. If you're a winner, Chris, you are a winner. So I'm not saying you need the guarantee that a guy that has won at the highest level, won at D2 can win at the highest level. I'm not saying that. I'm simply asking two questions. Would you make the change to Landon Powell this offseason if you don't make Omaha? And do you think Ray Tanner would make that change from the current regime to Landon Powell if they don't make Omaha? What do you think?
I will say no, because I think if they make the Super Regionals, Mark Kingston will be back. 100%. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if it were me,
you'd make the change.
Well, here's the thing, man. I said supers are bust before the season, so I'd be going back on my own word that I said in the preseason. It's funny to have these conversations without some sort of context, Mark. It'd be a lot easier to answer, for example, if you go to the Clemson Super Regional and get eliminated in 2 games, well, that's a lot different than hosting a super or going somewhere else or hosting and going to game 3 and falling short. It's a very much different thing. So I will say this, though. No matter if it was eliminated in regional supers and I made the move, Landon Powell would be a call for me. I cannot tell you he'd be my first call. That's all I'm saying. I think there are other guys out there in D1 who have won in the SEC, who have won national championships, who you could go after. Like, I loved Eric Bakich last year. I would have gone after Eric Bakich, but,
Realize that
and I would support Powell being hired. Like, I'm not saying that I would be negative about it. I would just be, okay, let's see if his strategies work at this level. But I will say this to the point you're making everybody else. There is something to be said about a guy like Beamer, like Landon Powell. Like, that a Landon Powell, every decision he makes, and he will make the adjustments necessary to make every decision that will best benefit South Carolina, and that it's all going to be about winning and winning big because he loves South Carolina so dearly. So that would give me a lot of confidence as well. So,
Chris, I can't dispute that to you. There might be resumes out there more impressive than Landon Powell, but sometimes in order to get that guy, you have to have the foresight to know that he's going to have a name before he does have a name. Colin Cowherd wasn't always Colin Cowherd. The most lazy argument fans always say is, who are we going to get to replace him? It's up to you to find that guy. Bob Ritchie is in the process of making a name for himself right now, Chris, but you don't always have a name. You didn't always have a name, right? I'm building our brand here, right? So it's up to you to find that guy. And Chris, if you hire somebody else instead of Landon Powell because they have a more impressive resume than he does, you might rue the day that you did that, right? Imagine if South Carolina had passed up Beamer, right? Which I didn't have a high grade for Beamer when he was hired because he had no experience. But somebody there had the foresight to know that he had what it took to pull the program together and take them to a new level, right?
You could do worse than Landon Powell for sure. And it would be a very cool story. And it maybe, I say against the grain hire, but we'll see. We'll see. I guess, I'm hoping that doesn't happen because, to your point, I'm hoping the Yardcocks end up in Omaha, and the rest will be history, and we're not even having this conversation. But we shall see. Mark Ryan, Offsides, and Mark Ryan of the Fan Upstate. Mark, I appreciate you taking the time, my friend. Appreciate all the great work you're doing. Thank you for being flexible, by the way, with your schedule and moving to Thursdays. This is awesome.
Yeah, man, enjoy it. It's a better day for me too, man. Not gonna be honest with you. It works out.
I love it.
Daily Crow listeners, man, we appreciate you so much. I've gone ahead and unblocked everybody that was blocked, unmuted everyone that was muted. Everyone's got a second lease on life here. So let's go. Want to invite you guys to follow me on Twitter at Mark Ryan on Air. That's at MARC Ryan on Air. Thank y'all so much. And Chris, congrats on the third hour, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Congrats to you and all your success as well, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it, bud. Take care.
Great stuff, guys, from Mark Ryan of the Fan Upstate. Always an electric combo. With that being said, guys, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll get into our Power Hour, taking all of your questions, your comments, your calls, and more. Very exciting stuff on the side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow.
Muscle Dougie, ho. Myself Dougie, hello Dougie, hello.
All right, guys, we're back Thursday, May the 18th, 2023. We are now taking your questions, your comments, and your calls as well as the phone lines are open. 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. We'll go back through your questions, guys. Of course, if you'd like to comment your questions on YouTube, you can do that as well. One of the greatest rivalries that has been built, what has been born through TDC, is that of Bruin Nation against John Edward. I love it. Let's see. We'll get into it. M. Colt Outdoors. We just need 2 out of 3 to get back on track this weekend. All right. Let's go ahead and jump to the phone lines. We'll get back into this question in a second. Here we go.
Call from
Will from Dirty Myrtle.
Will, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Good, bro. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I appreciate you asking. What's going on?
You know, every time I start to like Mark Ryan a little bit, he says something that makes me not like him again. You know, just kidding. But it's just the whole thing about the schedule. It's just like, man, it's not a built-in excuse. It's a reality. And we play. I don't know if you saw the comment I just posted, but we play 2 out of conference top 25 opponents. And that's, you know, we're ranked opponents out of conference. There's nobody else in the conference that's doing that. You know, I mean, we have put ourselves behind the 8 ball, and that's a fact. And it's like, I feel like the grading system, it's close. I mean, I'd say 9 and 3 would be an A, but I feel like this schedule, 8 and 4 would probably be an A, and 9 and 3 might be an A plus. Because based on who we're playing, you point me out 8 wins on that schedule. I mean, if you get 8 wins on that schedule, you're beating some good teams, you know? It's even tougher than what we had last year. So I just, you know, that's all I called to say was just, I get what he's saying, but at the same time, it's like, it's not an excuse. It's a fact. And if you look at teams like Georgia, look at their schedule. They ain't playing what we're playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got a tough road to hoe. And we're in the middle of trying to rebuild our program. So I feel like 8 wins is basically like 9 with the schedule, I guess. You know what I mean? It's almost like, you know, with this schedule, you know, you got to look at 8 as a win, not like it's the same as last year.
Well, yeah, the fact of the matter is this. You got to play Clemson every year, and you had North Carolina to the schedule. And, I mean, certainly the Gamecocks have one of the toughest slates in the country. I mean, to your point of what you said, I get where Mark is coming from as well, in the sense of you can't use the schedule as a crutch forever, because the schedule will be hard every year. The schedule will be tough every year. Right. One of the things that makes Georgia's schedule easier is that they are so much better than everybody else. You know what I mean? So I get what he said, but also, too, you think about who Georgia's playing. They're out of conference. Let's see, Ball State, UAB, Tennessee Martin, and Georgia Tech. So basically it's 4 layups. I mean, even it doesn't matter who the opponent or who had that on their schedule. For South Carolina, that would be 4 layups. So, you know, Georgia's schedule is certainly softer than the average SEC schedule. By SEC standards, it is a easy schedule, no doubt.
Yeah. And, you know, and I feel like we need to do ourselves. I know those schedules are made, what are they, like 5 or 6 years out?
Yes.
I just feel like we need to start doing ourselves a little bit more of a favor in the beginning of the season. I mean, I love the marquee matchup week 1 with, you know, you got May and you got Rattler. But I'm in the camp, and I've always been in the camp of the thought process of try to get a good little running start first in the season, get, you know, schedule a couple good ones early that you can, you know, even last year getting the, you know, Georgia State one, even that wasn't a cupcake by any means. Something like that to get going rather than North Carolina game 1. You know what I'm saying? We've done that multiple times when we played North Carolina the first game, or we'll have a conference game the first game, which is just crazy. we need to start doing get us a couple of good little, don't schedule anybody other than Clemson out of conference good. That's it. That's all we need. We don't need anything else.
Yeah,
don't
and see,
complicate it any more than we need to.
Yes, yeah, I think that's a highly debated topic, but I would agree with you, Will, that like for example, 2025 South Carolina Virginia Tech to open it up will be a really really cool game. I'm not saying it's not, but to your point, man, we play 8 SEC games plus Clemson. Carolina's got nothing to prove in those other 3. Like, why not just have some games that you can bring the kids to, bring the family to? It's going to be a dub, right? Like, I mean. I know we all love quality football. We love quality games. But at the same time, when you're talking about your favorite team, it's nice to know you got a couple of built-in wins on the schedule.
Yeah. And, Georgia's not dumb. They're not scared of anybody, obviously. But they know they're going they're trying to get the national championship, and they know that their schedule's already going to be tough enough just who they got in the conference. Like they don't have to go out and schedule a bunch of people to get to the playoffs. I just don't know why we're not helping ourselves out a little bit more in that regard of trying to get us another win or 2 penciled in, But I know that, like I said, I know the schedules are made a ways out. It's not like they don't make it the year before. But I would just hope going forward, maybe Beamer, because is it Beamer and AD? Is that who makes the schedule? I'm not really sure on that. Who is the person?
The AD definitely is the one that handles that. I mean, I think Beamer certainly is going to have some say in it, but those athletic directors, that's part of the job of being an athletic director. Yes.
Right. Well, hopefully Ray kind of helps us out in that regard going forward with some easier matchups early. But I'll jump off here, Chris. Later, bro.
Will, you're the man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the call. Great stuff, Will from Dirty Myrtle. And maybe that's something we can talk about one of these days about, top non-conference matchups that would be most fun. I'd love to see South Carolina, Georgia Tech. I think I don't know why those two teams don't play each other. Madison Duggan, how has the third hour been working out? It's been great, Madison. I think it's been great. I think the new format is incredible, adds value to the show, adds some organization, which was much needed. I think it's been a huge success. By the way, I always have a hard time finding good shirts. Polo shirt lineup you have are comfortable, breathable, and fit. Love the crap out of the shirts. Big win. Thank you, Madison. Thank you. I appreciate the love. That means a lot. Let's jump back to the phone lines here.
Robbie Davis, Zaxby's Hall of Famer.
Robbie Davis, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing good. I got a food baby in me from last night. I had steak, chicken, a baked potato, and macaroni and cheese last night at Logan's.
Wow. You had a steak and chicken.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there was rice underneath the chicken.
Wow. Robbie Davis doing it big. Hey, it was your birthday, though, man. It was your birthday.
It was my birthday,
You
so I
deserve
lived it up a little bit.
Lived it up.
To everybody that wished me a happy birthday, thank you to everybody, okay? But now let's get to the meat and potatoes of the phone call, okay? I think we this weekend, I think we kind of do get off the schneid a little bit, but again, after the way we've been playing the last several weeks, I have Tennessee taking 2 of 3. I have us winning tonight 7-5, losing tomorrow 7-5, and then losing 6-3 on Saturday.
So win 7-5, lose 7-5, lose 6-3. Okay. That's fair. Listen, we haven't been playing good baseball, so
we haven't.
That's very fair.
I don't know what's been going on, but that's my prediction. And I actually, even though he hasn't started a whole lot, I like what I've seen from Braswell. He's very patient when he's in the box. He's not going to swing at a bad pitch. So I wouldn't be surprised if he started the whole weekend.
I would not be surprised either, my friend. I would not be surprised either.
but I will definitely be watching the games this weekend. And like I've said before, just because I pick us to lose 2 of 3 doesn't mean I want it to happen. That's just my prediction. Okay. So don't throw stones at me in the chat. Okay. I want us to win the series. Don't get me wrong, but that's just a prediction. Okay. So that's what I think. And and last thing, then I'll get off of here. I agree with you with what you said earlier in the show. Okay. Beamer, and I'm switching to football here for a second. Beamer is going to do what is best for the football team. End of story. Okay. So regardless of what happens during the season, this coming season, I just like everyone else, including yourself, I back Beamer 1,000%.
Well said, man. I think we all agree. If most of us, if not all of us, would all agree with that for sure.
Because I wouldn't want to be the kind of coach where I care more about myself than the players I'm coaching or the university I'm working for or what have you. I would want what's best for the school and for the team as a whole. And that's what Beamer is doing. That's what Beamer's building. You can call it whatever the heck you want, climate or whatever. It's a dang culture in Columbia. I don't care what them Kentucky people say.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. I know that you're going to do what's best for Sal Robbie. You mentioned you'd call plays for free, man. So why not? I don't know why Beamer didn't give you a call.
I would do it for free. Yeah. I'd do it for free. Only thing you'd have to do is just get me to and from practice and get me to the game. That's all you got to do. Other than that, I'll take care of everything else. Oh, man. But that's all I got. You have a great rest of your day. And if you go anywhere, try and stay dry because it's raining over here, too.
Will do. Yeah, it's looks like it might be clearing up a little bit. So hopefully in Columbia, it clears up. So
I looked at the weather for Columbia, and it looks bad all weekend. The weather's probably going to be bad all weekend from what I saw. So that's all I got. You have a great rest of your day. Go Gamecocks, and to heck with Clemson. To heck with them.
Robbie, you're the man. I appreciate it.
You too, buddy.
Yeah,
have
man.
a good one.
Take care. You too. Appreciate it. Great stuff from Robbie Davis. By the way, guys, in case you missed it, this is a total side note, and Robbie Davis has Tennessee taking 2 of 3. Get this from Elon Musk. Twitter Blue verified subscribers can now upload 2-hour videos onto Twitter. Who is going on to Twitter and watching a 2-hour video? I will say this, though. What it now tempts me to do is, are there any old game? Yeah, there's a YouTube page I know called 1 Hour Football. We could just start uploading games to Twitter. Now, granted, might get in some trouble with taking that video off YouTube. I don't know, though. You could. Like, you could upload first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter in consecutive order of, like, the Tennessee game. You know what I mean? Like different games. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool, but otherwise, I don't know who is going to Twitter to watch a 2-hour video. It was funny, though, in a reply to Elon Musk's tweet, somebody uploaded Shrek the Third, which is like, are people going to be watching movies on Twitter? Maybe so. Heck, I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. I want to get back into your questions. I know many of you commented on YouTube. Here we go. Andrew says, isn't it funny how Monty Lee got all the praise and he was the reason for all of our success early? But when we play bad, it's all Kingston's fault, and Monty isn't even mentioned. I mean, Andrew, we talked about that early in the season. We knew that was going to be the case, right? And that's why I really tried to give Kingston credit. Because I was like, hey, it feels unfair because if we're losing, where all the blame is going to fall. And sure enough, That's exactly where we are. So, guys, that being said, let's jump into a quick break. On the other side, though, I want to continue to hear from you, more of your questions, comments, calls, and more. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow.
Muscle Dougie, ho, Dougie, ho. Muscle Dougie, ho, Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back. Taking your questions, comments, calls. 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377 here on this Thursday, May the 18th, 2023. Let's get back into your questions here. Let's see. Madison says, got to shout out the 2023 3A Boys Golf State Championship. Brooklyn Casey. Shout out to Brooklyn Casey. How about that? Let me go back here. Get back in your questions. Bruin Nation on Lenora Sellers. And I think Bruin Nation would talk about Lenora Sellers every day if we were game to. He says, the thing is you can bring him in on 3rd and 1, and the defense assumes automatically he's going to run and he can bomb it 45 yards with ease. Yeah. Definitely think Lenora Sellers is a dynamic player that can help us win a lot of games this season. I mean, again, I don't know how much he's going to play. I don't want to set unfair expectations, but seems like there's some momentum picking up that he will be a guy that helps us for sure. Brian Dean says, I tried the ghost pepper wings from Popeyes. They have a little kick, but not much. Good to know, Brian Dean. Brian also says, Shane Beamer was the right choice for Carolina. I agree. He also mentions you needed a coach with integrity and one who wanted to change the culture. No doubt. No doubt. All right, that being said, guys, let's go ahead and jump back into the phone lines.
Call from. To accept, press 1.
Fire away. You're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, it's Dalton.
What's up, man? I thought it was you.
How's it going? I just wanted to call in and sort of push back on this whole. I know it's talking season. People want to talk about the roster, what the team's going to look like, but this whole narrative that people have in their minds, I guess, that all these freshmen are going to be playing, this year and they're going to be major contributors on this team. I just don't necessarily see it. I mean, Lenora Sellers is a very good player. His high school tape is really good. But at the same time, like everybody's high school tape who plays in the SEC is really good. I just don't like crowning someone as the guy before they've ever even, taken a snap in the SEC,
Hey, listen,
Same kind of thing with Nicholas Harbor.
Right. I mean, and listen, especially on the Lenora Sellers side, that's very fair when you think about South Carolina and our history recently with quarterbacks and crowning quarterbacks and anointing guys as the guy, right? That has not worked out very well for us in recent memory. So to your point, it's do it at your own risk, I guess.
At the same time, I mean, I think that we have a lot of talented freshmen on the team. Obviously, I'm not sure what Braswell is going to be able to bring to the table, but I think most of the time, when Shane Beamer says stuff like, freshmen are going to be contributing, the freshmen aren't necessarily contributing because, they're just that good. I think a lot of the time they're having to contribute out of necessity, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like our roster at the same time, I mean, you posted yesterday is 102nd or something in returning productivity. Mm-hmm. There aren't a whole lot of veteran players on this team, right? So, the whole idea of, this team's winning 9-10 games, double-digit wins, whatever. I just think that that's kind of an unrealistic expectation. At this point, I would be happy with a 7-win season. I think, even though we won, what was it, 8? We won 7 or 8 last year, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the record is the same. Doesn't necessarily mean the team got worse, right? Mm-hmm. So while I do think we have a good team, the schedule has been pointed out that it's incredibly tough. As well as the fact that, again, we don't have a whole lot of veteran players. So it just really depends on whether or not those freshman players are ready to come out and contribute right away, kind of.
To your point, Dalton, I'll tell you this. South Carolina, in case you did not know, ranks 11th in the SEC with 55% of their total production returning this fall. They rank 9th with 63% of the offensive production back and just 48%, 12th in the league. 48% of the defensive production is back from a season ago. So to your point, there's a lot of new faces. A lot of these guys will have to step up, like you mentioned, and fill the void for the loss of production from a season ago. So, it's good perspective to have, if nothing else, going into the season.
Right, I agree, and I mean that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Like, you see a lot of people on social media talking about, Lenora Sellers might, have to come in this year and play quarterback. I would say that if that's the case, then most likely our season didn't go the way we wanted it to, right? Because at the end of the day, there really isn't any other quarterback on this roster that I trust outside of Spencer Rattler, just because he has more experience than anyone, right? And in the SEC, especially at the quarterback position, 9 times out of 10, experience trumps, potential and talent. I'm not saying that Lenora Sellers a year from now isn't going to be, a top quarterback in the SEC or anything. I just don't like, again, people taking spring game tape and basing their entire opinion on a player, especially a freshman player, off of one tape from one game film from a spring game. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, I think that's a bad way to go about it.
Well, per our friend Brendan M., you are the resident spring game hater, Dalton. So I'd hate for you to not live up to your title. So you can take that up with Brendan, by the way, if you don't like that.
Well, I'm okay with being the resident spring game hater. I would say I'm more of a spring game realist, but
fair enough.
I mean, you can say I'm a spring game hater.
Listen, I hear what you're saying. You're right, because you never know who guys are going against, and it's a very tricky and probably not a wise thing to do, to overreact to a spring game, for sure. So to your point.
We'll just have to see what happens, but I don't think we'll really know what this team's all about, what this team's capable of, until at least 3 games into the season. I think that first game against UNC is going to tell us a lot. But I think, this season we could range anywhere from 6 wins to potentially 8 or 9 wins. But there's just a lot of volatility as far as, the roster and I guess turnover in the roster and all that kind of thing. So, I don't normally set my expectations too high, because most of the time people do that in talking season and it ends up backfiring.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair, Dalton. That's fair. So I do agree with you. I think this football team is one of the most interesting teams in the country going into the season. There's a lot of volatility, and it might be a wide range of outcomes in regards to the ceiling and the floor for this team and what those two outcomes could be. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting, no doubt, to see how this thing plays out. Dalton, I appreciate the call as always, my friend. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff from Dalton. Good stuff from Dalton. Appreciate him calling in. And, yeah. Keeping the expectations realistic heading into the fall. Let's get back into your questions, guys. Brian Dean says, if Clemson comes to the SEC, they can replace Vanderbilt in the cellar. Bruin Nation says, Mark Ryan unblocked me, but John Edward won't. Who does he think he is? John Edward, come on, man. Unblock Bruin Nation. Y'all hash it out in the comments. Brian says, South Carolina needs to make a statement against UNC, no doubt. Babes and Waves says, where is Becca? Let's see. John Edwards says, Steve Fink holds grudges. I hear you. Madison, I'm meeting Spencer Rattler this weekend. What are you doing? How about it? Have fun with that, man. Going to be a good time. Madison says, got to put some Gamecock crows in the music bit. The Daily Crow needs some crow. I know, not my show. Hey, I hear you. I'll take it into consideration. This is from earlier. Will called in, obviously, but he says Mark Ryan's a troll with the toughest schedule in the country. That's not an excuse. That is a fact. Let's see. Jacob E says the big non-conference games are a huge recruiting tool. More exposure. I would agree with you. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I just, again, I don't necessarily want to have the toughest schedule in the country. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a goal of mine. I'm fine with having an okay schedule and winning a lot of games. Madison, do we play tonight? Rain, let's get you the latest weather update here. Latest weather update in Columbia, South Carolina. We'll go hourly here. Weather does not look good. Weather does not look good. 80% chance of rain at 3, 95% at 4, 96% at 5, 93% at 6, 81% at 7, 80% at 8, 70% at 9, 70% at 10, and 60% at 11. So, I will say it's wide open all day tomorrow. So if they wanted to play a doubleheader, I mean, they could start this thing at like 3 o'clock and they'd have all day to do so. So we shall see. We shall see if they get the game in tonight. Let's see here. Madison says upload some Daily Crow videos to Twitter. I hear you. I don't know. Nobody's going to watch a 2-hour clip on Twitter. Travis says, nice creative hat, Chris. Yeah, this line of merch has not really taken off yet, but the Heisman merch with the 7, I don't know. I feel like that's, I feel like that's, I think it's a cool thing. I don't know. It's a cool thing. Get the Spencer Rattler Heisman hype train rolling. Let's see here. Again, guys, 843-790-3377. We're in our Power Hour, hour number 3. Going to appreciate you all tuning in. Your love, your support means the absolute world, man. Breaking news just tweeted 37 seconds ago. Tonight's game against Tennessee has been postponed due to rain. We will play a doubleheader Friday, May 19th. The game 1 starting at 3 p.m. and game 2 approximately 1 hour after the conclusion of game 1. So there it is. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Hunter.
Hunter, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm good, man. Just hanging in there. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Appreciate you asking what's going on.
So I feel like the baseball team, I don't know what happened with Charlotte. I really don't want to know. I don't want to get into it. But, this reminds me of, football. Like, we got embarrassed in Florida or something like that. I feel like they should have that expectation on, recapping on, by watching the football season and, come back and be like, you know what, we're going to do what they did. They ain't got nothing to lose anyway. So you might as well, perform high on offense and defense. On the Tennessee series. I mean, why not, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, listen, play loose, play with confidence. I mean, to your point, man, play with nothing to lose for sure. I mean, it's all a mental thing, man. Just getting back to playing the way we know we're capable of. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. So,
yep, that's all I needed, man. I appreciate it,
Hunter. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Man,
Bye.
take care. Great stuff from Hunter Kelly, guys. In case you missed it, the big news, no baseball game tonight. And the rain will force a doubleheader tomorrow, which will get going at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, the ball game will get started. Game 1 will take place, and then game 2 set for approximately 1 hour after the conclusion of game 1. So there you go. No baseball tonight, unfortunately. And I tell you what, that sets up tomorrow. Who does the doubleheader help? Does it help either side? I tell you what it sets up, though. It sets up probably the most important day of the 2023 season, of the regular season at least. Yeah, it sets up a huge day at Founders Park. So 3 o'clock. So tomorrow, guys, here we go. We will roll right into We'll do TDC noon to 3 tomorrow, which, by the way, guys, really excited. We don't have a guest on tomorrow's show, but we kind of do. We're going to air my conversation with Pete Futak of collegefootballnews.com. That will air in the second hour of the show. And then we will stay live until 3. And right after that, we will jump into watching the Gamecocks taking on Tennessee. So, going to be a fun day. Going to be a lot of fun. Yep, Daily Crow right into baseball. No baseball tonight, though, due to rain. So, no baseball tonight due to rain. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377 here on this Thursday, May the 18th, 2023. I would imagine both games obviously still on SEC Network Plus. Both games still on SEC Network Plus. So, guys, let's go ahead and jump back to the phone lines here.
Call from.
It's Football Frank.
Frank, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. I know you're excited because we're 107 days away from Carolina football, but 100 days until college football. What's up, man?
You beat me to it.
100 days till
Everything's
football
good.
actually kicks off, man. We've got 100 days until Vanderbilt and Hawaii, so I'm looking forward to it.
That'll be I'm looking forward to watching that.
Yeah.
We got a lot of baseball going on this weekend, so I'll get this football stuff out of the way. Got picked up on that 6-point over for South Carolina win total. My prediction is actually 8-4 for the year. I think that's
Okay.
I think that's how we're going to do it. I don't know who that disappoints, but I mean in that record you're going to lose to Georgia, Tennessee, A&M away, and you can take your pick. Missouri, which we just can't seem to beat somehow, and Clemson. So you're going to switch Missouri for Clemson, however way you want to roll it. 8-4. I need 7 wins for my bet to pay off, so I don't care who we beat.
I think anybody, Frank, who would be disappointed in an 8-4 campaign is just missing the mark, man. I think 8-4 would be a great season.
I think that's my upside. I mean, I don't want to go 7-5, but if we do go 7-5, we're going to be in a halfway decent bowl. And then, of course, we got to win that. But we all know bowl season. Some guys hate it. Some guys love it. Some guys think it doesn't count. I think a football game's a football game. But that's where I stand on it. But like these other guys, like to go 9-3, that to me is not reasonable. Because if you take Georgia and Tennessee as a loss, then you got to beat 2 out of 3, Clemson, Missouri, and A&M. I just don't see that happening. The 10-2 dreamers out there, you got to beat 1 of 3, Georgia, Tennessee, and Clemson. You got to win 1 of 3 of those bowls and win both away games at Missouri and A&M. So I mean, that's to me, that's just fantasy land. So I'm going to stick with the 8-4, and we hang on for 7-5. I'm not going to pull the trigger on anything, but let's see if we can get this out of the way. Let Lenora Sellers' comments. I mean, from a betting man, if Lenora Sellers is playing, that means Spencer Rattler's not. To me, that would be a problem.
Yeah, if it's anything outside of, again, situationally 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, quarterback power or what have you, I agree with you. I know people are excited, but realistically, yeah, I mean, it's a Spencer Rattler's team, and he's going to take 99.9% of the snaps, as he should.
Yeah, and even with let's say, my number one choice is to go 8-4, and we get into a bowl game. I think Spencer's sitting out, and I think that's when Lenore's Sellers is gonna start in the bowl game.
Wow, now that'd be something. Lenora Sellers start in the bowl game. That would be something for sure.
Yeah,
that would make
he's
sense.
Gonna play behind it.
That would make
Listen,
sense.
I like Doty. I think Doty's great. What do I think he starts? I think he starts. He starts the second half against Jacksonville State.
Okay.
They're going to say thanks. Thanks for everything. You start in the second half. and we'll see where we go from there. But I think Doty's playing one half of football, and I think Lynn Norris is going to start the bowl game, and we'll hope for some success in that regard.
Indeed. Hey, listen, I think you're spot on, man. I think it could very well happen. So,
yeah, I mean, 125. I think the lineup was minus 125. So, I guess you got to go 8 times to make it pay off right. But I didn't think it was a value bet. I'll tell you that. It looks like with that line, Vegas is going to hedge it for them to actually, maybe not to win. I think they have them favored to go over. They're just not giving you the right odds for it.
Right.
So, you got to just lay down a lot of money. Usually when you have to do that, they're just going to hedge it, taking as much cash as they can.
Mm-hmm.
But, so that's what I'm hoping for. Maybe let's see, what's the worst case here? I guess 4-4 after the Texas A&M game. If we're 4-4 after that, then that's a 7-5 season.
Yeah, that 6 number from Vegas, man, just feels. It's hard for me to fathom a scenario in which South Carolina does not win at minimum 6 games. I mean, I say the same thing I said last year. I mean, I think the number was 6 or 6.5 last year. I said the exact same thing, man. I could not fathom a scenario in which Carolina did not at minimum reach bowl eligibility.
Yeah, I just see it. Maybe even with those last 2 games of the year, somehow South Carolina never got on anybody's radar. So they probably just went with the old, well, we had 6 last year, let's give them 6 this year. Looking at some of the other, I was looking hard at the Missouri under because I just don't see them. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I don't see them winning 6, and I still see that is a tough game for us for some reason. I just don't know how we can't get over that speed bump. But North Carolina too. When I was betting on the South Carolina game, I'm looking at their thing. Their under over is 8.5.
Wow.
So I haven't looked at their schedule.
The Drake May effect. The Drake May effect.
Yeah. So I mean, I was almost tempted to put some money on that, but not knowing enough about it, I wasn't going to break the bank on it. So I stayed away. But I was looking at that, and it kind of holy crap, 8.5. That seems like a lot. So you got to win 9 games to pay that bet off. I don't know that anyone's going to pull that off.
Yeah, that's a big one. Hey, if they're going to get there, that first game for sure in Charlotte's a big one, no doubt. That's a big one.
Well, that's the hit or miss right there. I think the game 1 is such a big game. I guess for everybody. I mean, I hate to. We keep going back to it, but I just think that the closer we get, the more and more the pressure is going to start to mount and say, we're talking about recruiting and we're looking for running backs and we're talking about coaches and. The bottom line is that as we get into August, more and more people are going to start putting some pressure on that game 1, and and I believe it's rightly so. I mean, you can't have you can't go 8-4 when you start off 0-1.
That's for sure. No, listen, I'd agree with you 110%. Yeah, that's a big game. It's pivotal for the season, and I don't know if I'll label it my most important game or anything, but it's a massive game. Without a doubt, it's a big swing game. I mean, you look at the front half of the schedule; it's one you feel like you need to have to set yourself up for success.
I mean, the only reason I have to maybe disagree with not making that the most important game, because if you do happen to go down for some crazy reason, you lose to them, even if it's a tight game at the end, and you're looking at having to beat A&M and Missouri both away to make up for it.
Yeah.
Clemson's. I'm a fan, but the Clemson game's not going to be easy.
No, not at all.
And some of these like last year, early in the year, we were playing teams that should have smoked. We did not look good. So, guaranteed win for me. After the game's over, you can guarantee the win.
No, for sure. That UNC game at minimum will set the tone for the season, my friend. There's no doubt.
If we win that, I just think that there's no 8-4, 9-3, 10-2. None of that even is in existence until we win the North Carolina game. And maybe it doesn't seem. I can't imagine it not being as important to them as it is to us. But this is going to be our season there. So I like it. As a betting guy, I want that first win. Let's get it out of the way, get the momentum going right away. Again, you don't want to be 2-1 playing Georgia, or having a one single win when you gotta go play them.
Right.
All right, pal.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll let you run. You have a great day.
Frank, I appreciate you, man. It's always a pleasure to hear from you.
Anytime. Take care.
Man. You too. Great stuff. Great stuff from Football Frank. As always, you can tell he's fired up, ready to go, as we are as well. Guys, we'll jump into one final break, and on the other side, we'll close out the show in style. More of your questions, comments, calls, and more. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow.
Muscle Dougie, ho. Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back. Final 10 minutes or so in the Daily Crow, taking your questions, your comments, your calls as well. 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. Dale from East Tennessee said, I just woke up, celebrated Sleepy Rob's birthday last night. I ate too many corn dogs. He also says, can't wait till his Sweet 16 next year. We are getting turned. Lynn Turner says, I won money on South Carolina over 6.5 last year. Very nice. I think you and a lot of others, Lynn, as well. She also says, if Sellers plays more than 4 games, I think that's bad news for us. It means we are having problems. Jeff Gullidge, Mark seemed not to be high on South Carolina this season. I say that even though he said we go 8-4. I wonder if he has doubts about Loggins' play calling. I will say this, Jeff. I mean, Mark has said he thinks South Carolina is one of the most underrated teams in college football entering the season. So take it for what it's worth. Dave Garrick says, I'm a Spurs up guy t-shirt. I could do it. I'll work on that. Dale says the chat is sleeping. The chat's sleeping. How about this, guys? News coming out that apparently ESPN plans to stream flagship channel eyeing cable TV's demise. That is the headline from the folks over at Wall Street Journal. It looks like apparently Wall Street Journal is preparing to cut the cord on themselves, I guess, and go to streaming specifically. So, yeah, big, man. Cable TV is on the way out, which I don't think is breaking news to any of us, really. I mean, that tends to make sense. So, let's see here. Let's see. Again, guys, in case you missed it, no baseball tonight due to weather. Tomorrow night, tomorrow at Founders Park. First pitch at 3:00 for game 1. And then an hour after that game ends, so probably about 7:00, you'll get game 2. So, going to be a fun day tomorrow, guys. We'll roll straight from TDC into the baseball game. Not here, just saying in general. We'll go TDC and then the baseball game. We got the puppy in the studio going crazy right now. Guys, again, I want to say thank y'all so much for the love and the support. Of course, guys, wanted to change up the format of TDC for many reasons, but, admittedly, one of the reasons was increasing value in regards to the podcast side of things and giving you guys all much more consumable, easy to consume content, right? Much more digestible, much more consumable. And just to give you guys an idea, over this last 4-day period, okay? Over the last 4-day period, when you compare it to last month in the 4-day period, we are up. Podcast downloads are up 110% from this same last month 4-day period to this month since we started distributing the podcast in the way that we are doing now. So again, I want to say thank y'all so much. It's incredible to feel the love, the support, everything, man. I cannot say thank you all enough. Back in your questions, comments, John Edwards says, for Braves fans, this weekend versus Seattle, Friday on Apple TV, plus Saturday on Big Fox, and Sunday on the Team Network. Ruben Nation says, I'm a cable guy. I like channel surfing. I hate streaming live TV, especially sports, because I like to flip between games. Well, Ruben Nation, I think many would disagree with you, my guy, and it's taken over. The streaming is taking over, no doubt. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3337. If anybody wants to sneak in a last-minute question, comment, what have you. If anybody wants to sneak one in. Madison, I appreciate the love. Thank you, sir. Always showing love and support. Let's see. What's this say? Will Korb said, Lenore Sellers for president. Love that. Good, John Ember says. Let's see. I'm on. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, I do all streaming. I'm on YouTube TV. Me and my buddy actually split YouTube TV, and I've got ESPN Plus as well. But yeah, I'm all streaming, man. I'm all streaming. So I'm all streaming. This dog is going crazy right now. I got this little foam golf ball, and she is having a time. She is having a time with it. Anyways, guys, I want to say thank you all so much. Love sport. Hey, thank you to Mark Ryan as well. Great appearance by him today. And in case you missed it, guys, our guest lineup looks like this. Mark Rogers, the voice of college football, on Monday. J.C. Sherbert on Tuesdays. J.D. Pekelov on 3 on Wednesdays. Mark Ryan at the Fan Upstate on Thursdays. And tomorrow we won't have a guest. We will actually have an interview, though. So basically it's like we will have a guest. I will air an interview that I did. With Pete Futak, collegefootballnews.com. Really, really good stuff. Starting June the 2nd, though, we will have my good friend Jake Crane jumping on the show once again. So, guys, you might think to yourself, okay, baseball's, coming to the end of season. We're going in the quote-unquote off-season. He'll slow down. And we're going to keep rocking, man. We're going to keep rocking. We are hitting the gas pedal, and I love it. I really do love it, guys. I want to say thank you again because I love the new format. I love the new setup. We were in the Big Cock Club Discord talking about it last night, which, by the way, if you have not joined, we will not be doing it this weekend. But next week, guys, all week long for the entire SEC tournament, we are going to be in the Big Cock Club Discord in the Hangout, streaming all of the baseball games, all the SEC tournament games, all the postseason games. You can watch it with yours truly. You can watch it with us in the Big Cock Club Hangout. We're not going to do the live stream watch-alongs anymore on YouTube. As much as I like them, I just think there's more value to be able to actually watch the games in the Big Cock Club Hangout and see the game and have our audio and talk and stuff like that. If you have not seen, guys, it's a really, really cool thing. And I'd also tell you this. If you don't want to pay for cable, you don't want to pay for ESPN Plus, you don't want to pay for SEC Network, whatever, you can join the Big Cock Club Discord for $9.99 a month, and you can watch all the games with us. So just gives you an option. So Madison says, if you could ask Spencer Rattler a question, what would it be? That's a great question, Madison. I would ask him, I don't know. I'd probably ask him favorite moment of the 2022 season. I want to ask him something where he'll really answer the question openly and honestly. I'm not going to ask him something that I feel like, you know what I'm saying? He's not going to want to answer. So, let's see. Luke RJ texted in. He says, speaking of making t-shirts, I need a Joiner Ball RB1 t-shirt, please. Let's go. Joiner Ball, he says. Joiner Ball. Okay. Brewer Nation, 3 games on at one time. A lot better on cable than a damn stream. All right, Boomer. Nah, I'm just kidding. I hear you, man. I hear you. Guys, all right, that's going to do it all for me. Hey, we've hit 3 o'clock. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in, your questions, your comments. Thank you to Mark Ryan for taking the time to chat. And, of course, guys, appreciate you, your love, your support. Enjoy tonight with no baseball. We got a big day tomorrow, so gear up as South Carolina begins their series with Tennessee. Again, guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and we will talk to you all tomorrow.